Hey guys, what's up? We are back with some more reactions after dark, and of course we're going to be watching Horrors from Around the Web 2 by Opiuhm. This is her second video out of 3 currently. Again, I think she's working on a 4th. I'm not sure. Again, I think she might have had more videos on the channel, but then nuked everything and then condensed them possibly into part 1 and now part 2. I don't know if like Horrors from Around the Web 1 and now 2 are just a bunch of old stuff that she's condensed into one video. At least 1, she said 1 was, but I don't know about number 2. Baby does. I've already seen the first like second of this video, and it is Sad Satan, and Sad Satan is like might as well be prehistoric internet horror. So I feel like it is just a compilation of all her old stuff, and then maybe the third video, her one about Appalachia, is actually brand new. We'll have to see. Also, we're just doing Opiuhm today in between our Rotten Mango videos because Opiuhm herself actually commented on the very first video the other day, which I was not expecting that. I would never expect anyone to show up who is the maker of the video. Like, why would they show up, right? The only reason I would assume that she saw the video is because YouTube has like that copyright system that alerts you like, hey, someone might be using your content, and there's like a list of videos that potentially could match your content. I mentioned it in a previous video. Like for me, if I react to a Nintendo Direct, it ends up telling me like the day after, like, hey, we think these other people are using your content, and it's just like other people reacting to a Nintendo Direct, and it's Nintendo Direct's content that's being flagged, but they think it's mine, or I'm assuming for them, it thinks that their content is, or my content is their content, and vice versa, etc., etc. So it's just weird. That's the only way I would assume people are, like anyone like that would find these videos. I would assume is just because of that system, which actually probably makes it pretty easy to find the video. Sadsatan.exe. Ancient history at this point, right? Oh. You gotta have it on the screen longer than like a nanosecond. Come on. A viewer discretion strongly advised. For Sad Satan, yeah, sure. I don't know what else is going to be in this video, though.
Video games can be beautiful works of art.
Pac-Man.
They can often evoke strong emotions of pride and
Good Zelda.
joy. You grow attached to the character you control,
Mario 64.
rooting for their success. However, there is a flipped side of this too. There are also games that create an immense world of isolation with their intricately designed landscapes and
That's Silent Hill 1 or 2, because I don't know the difference.
soundtracks, deliberately meant to make you feel like you're completely alone. This sense of horror is applicable to the game that we're discussing today, a notorious game known online as Sad Satan.
I think the thing on the screen right now is either Doom or Wolfenstein. I'm not sure. Can't tell. It's too vignette and distorted. I feel like a lot of Sad Satan stuff is just like, is it like just he said, she said? Like, oh yeah, it has this graphic content, but actually no, it doesn't have this graphic content. And also, wait, hold on, it was just a myth all along. It was just a hoax. It actually isn't. Wait, actually, maybe it is. Maybe the creator is a weirdo scumbag. Maybe he's not a scumbag. Like, I feel like it was a lot of that.
The first trace of Sad Satan began when YouTuber Obscure Horror Corner uploaded gameplay of it way back in 2015.
Yeah, this guy. I don't know if she's gonna go over that or not. Maybe she will, but I think this guy ends up claiming that he made Sad Satan, or had something to do with Sad Satan.
Claiming it was a game he downloaded from the deep web.
Like he eventually revises his statement and says he's working on or made it. I don't know.
For those who don't know what the deep web is, let me explain quickly. So, The deep web refers to parts of the internet not fully accessible through standard search engines such
You need like Tor and Onion, etc.
as Google.
Whatever they're called. The Tor browser.
The deep web
Oh, it actually says Tor. Oh, I forgot to turn on pen. Okay, there, turned on the pen. But yeah, it says Tor right here. Tor browser. You need that to actually access this part of the web.
makes up for 95% of all of the internet, which is insane considering that most people will never go out of their way to access it.
That's pretty much like the Wild West of the internet, like it used to be back in the 90s and early 2000s, but just probably even, is it worse or better? I would assume it's better just because there's probably like, what, no regulation back in the Wild West of the internet. At least there's some. I guess it kind of isn't regulated, but then there's also, you assume that the government is like just sifting through the dark web here and there, trying to find any bad stuff happening. Trying to find snuff or drugs. You know, like the Silk Road, that's a website for buying drugs. I don't know if you can get in trouble for saying Silk Road on YouTube.
The deep web is also known by the name of the dark web due to the illegal and unsettling nature of some of the pages that are held on the database. And amongst the shadowy domain of the deep web is where Sad Satan was allegedly found.
Yeah, I was going to say allegedly, but she did say allegedly.
The gameplay of Sad Satan is eerie, to say the least. We watch as Obscure Horror Corner traverses the monochrome landscape with noises of wind, static, and footfall filling the ears of the viewer.
Is this actually gameplay footage? Because it seems worse than what I remember it looking like. I feel like it was more crystal.
Part 1 of the gameplay is nothing out of the ordinary to begin with.
Isn't it just like a cruddy maze game?
Just a walk through a long corridor
A walking simulator?
with distorted sounds and typical eerie imagery. Towards the end, an image of Jimmy Savile appears on the screen. For those who don't know who he is perhaps one of Britain's most notorious and high-profile sexual offenders, who was put in numerous positions of power where he could take advantage of children.
Okay, she censored herself, but then we get the gist of what's going on there.
Part 2 of the gameplay begins to get a little more interesting. A photo of Baphomet flashes on the screen.
Careful.
Representing what I assume is supposed to be the Satan part of the game.
Actually, let's get this off the screen first.
Shortly after
Before I
this,
start talking
your
about it.
character comes across the distorted figure of a little girl.
I've mentioned this sometimes in my videos. If you believe in that kind of stuff, like witchcraft and metaphysical stuff and whatnot, there's names that you need to be careful of to not say, because if you believe they exist, some of them can be brought aware of your presence when their name is spoken, I believe. And that guy is one of them. So I always just say careful whenever someone says its name. Because allegedly, if you say its name, it will notice you, and then who knows what will happen to you at that point. Like maybe bad luck, something bad will happen to you. Maybe you'll die, who knows. Like, probably not, but just if you believe in that stuff, just careful of the names you're saying. There's another one, if you know of Sir, like I'm going to just refer to him as Sir, C-E-R, in Smite, the video game Smite. Is he in Smite 2 too? I don't remember if he's in Smite 2 yet. But Smite is a MOBA, multiplayer online battle arena, where it just takes a bunch of gods from every religion and puts them in, and then you just fight with them, right? And Sir allegedly is one of those guys who you don't want to be saying his name. I think he's in Christian beliefs, maybe. But again, he's one of the ones. Well, I guess Ba might be on that spectrum too. So again, just better to be safe than sorry. Apparently, I don't say Sir's name right, so it's not a problem. I don't know how to pronounce it properly. Obviously, I wasn't told, so I wouldn't say it. But yeah, so just avoid some names. If you think you shouldn't be saying someone's name, then probably don't say it. If you believe in that kind of stuff. If you don't believe, obviously, you wouldn't care. I'm just saying, just a warning. Be careful if you believe in supernatural slash metaphysical stuff.
Who screams upon your approach. She appears to be crying and completely alone. Part 3 of the gameplay shows more disturbing images, but this time with an audio loop of Charles Manson in the background.
If I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left. If I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
Except that you're just a regular human being, and that would not be the case. I think he's dead now, right? This guy, this. I'm still like a bit vague on this guy because I never like specifically watched like a documentary or anything that has to do with Manson here. But he made other people kill people, right? I don't know if he actually killed people, but he manipulated other people to kill people. That's the gist.
The other people in the images are an infamous serial killer of Japan whose victims were as young as 4-year-old children.
Otaku killer. I don't think I've watched one, but either Rotten Mango has a video on this guy, or Dark Asia with Megan does. I mean, I assume both of them do. But yeah, I still have to watch this video from Rotten Mango if she does have one on the Otaku killer.
And then one of Rolf Harris, who is another disgusting man in a similar position to Jimmy Savile. The YouTuber also provided a download link for the game, but it turned out to be false. He claimed that he did this because the game contained graphic and illegal material, which they didn't want to be pinned as responsible for sharing. Obscure Horror Corner hasn't posted since part 4 of this, and his channel has been dormant for 8 years now.
Yeah, except the whole controversy, probably because of the controversy of whatever happened with him. So the story is deeper than just this. We're only 4 minutes in. This is an hour and a half, so I'm assuming she's going to go into the deeper controversies.
Whilst all of this was happening, an update was provided on 4chan by someone who went by the alias of ZK, claiming that Obscure Horror Corner hadn't shown the world the true version of Sad Satan. And thus, ZK went on to provide a download link that did work.
Surprised you're saying Z, K instead of, what is it, Z? ZK? Like Z is not necessarily American, but just from the accent, I would assume she would have said Z. She was across the pond, right?
And of course, people began downloading the game.
Corpse on the menu confirms. Got to menu screen, clicked the how to play screen, and a corpse popped up on the screen. F that. Deleted that. Crashed my comp. I mean, I don't really have to care about swearing. I just don't typically do it on the channel. Not since, back in the day, like 14 years ago. I don't know how many years that lasted of me just, talking like a normal person. But I typically don't swear on the channel unless I'm like, okay, screw it, this is going to be a video where I do. But I feel like I have to be more wary of that now, just because we're so close to being partner that YouTube will get mad at me, because YouTube is so dumb that I feel like now I've spent the past decade not swearing, and now I actually have to do it for real. I was just doing it just to do it, but now I have to actually do it because YouTube. Sorry, mates. Deleted it as soon as I saw everything. Don't download. It has uh, what is like the weird way to say that? Because I don't want to just say that cheese pizza. I think that's the term that people use. That's actually a bad term too, because you could argue that people are using the term cheese pizza as a replacement to get said, you know, bad underage content, we'll say. That's what that is supposed to be, but we'll just call it cheese pizza for now.
After
Yeah.
the downloads, many people claimed that their computers began to run slow, and some even reported that theirs went unresponsive completely. It seemed this version of the game was absolutely littered with malware and viruses. To those who were able to access some of the material on this version of the game, claimed that it was plastered with gore and CP. It is speculated that ZK on 4chan may be related to ScareBearZK on Reddit, who posted in the Sad Satan subreddit,
I mean, just have ZK in his name. Hiding in plain sight right
somewhat
under your
alluding
noses.
to the fact that he created the real version of Sad Satan.
Yeah, so yeah, he's saying he said that he made it. But I feel like the guy who uploaded it originally ended up being this guy. And like they're all just the same person, but maybe I'm just getting the wires crossed.
Now, if we look this name up on YouTube, we find a channel by the name of ScareBear, with the exact same spelling. Take a look at this video.
Downtown Nacho. Yeah, we're just watching a goofy video.
The man behind this particular video's name was Gary Graves, as
Was.
mentioned in the credits of the end. And, well, he was arrested for the possession of CP on his phone after his girlfriend turned him in to the authorities. But what does this man have to do with the Sad Satan game?
I mean, if we think it's the same guy,
Well,
then
none of this is proven, but there used to be a video on Gary Graves' channel named Sad Satan, which didn't seem to have anything to do with the gameplay uploaded by Obscure Horror Corner, but the video of the similar name was uploaded back in 2013, and like I said before, this could all be a big coincidence, but if it is, it's certainly a strange one at that. So after all of this information, what are we left with? And what was the purpose of all of this? Well, we have two definitive versions of the game. A clean version uploaded by Obscure Horror Corner, and the other one that is claimed to be the real version of the game, with supposed ties to a convicted child. Both users were the first ones to mention these two different versions of the game.
like how would you get a hold of a clean version? Also, yeah, the fact that Obscure has a clean version, like how did you get that? Does that imply you have the real quote unquote version and then cleaned it for you, YouTube? Again, that's what I'm saying. Like I swear, like Obscure was the creator of Sad Satan. Like they're all supposed to be like connected or something.
So, are they the same person? I'm not entirely sure. But all we know is that Obscure Horror Corner has since disappeared since the upload of the clean Sad Satan gameplay.
Yeah, but has he been disappeared since that one guy went to jail for being a pred?
So why was this game made then? Well, unfortunately I don't know. But they are both low-blow attempts at gaining attention and notoriety, and can't be considered as good horror games. There is no real depth to this game, and no plot in sight, and the latter version especially appears to be a mere showcase of an obsessive and deranged mind, hell-bent on delivering shock value at the expense of those poor victims whose photos were used in vain. Sad Satan is not a horror game, but it is just as the title suggests, sad.
Is that it for sad? 10 minutes for sad. Remember, curiosity killed the cat. Please do not go looking for this game. Yep. Again, I've said it several times so far. I have successfully avoided watching snuff as far as I know. I don't remember ever seeing any, and I will continue to do so. The missing blogger. Is this computer custom, or is this like a Windows icon that's been blown up?
Delia Day was a pioneering creator in the adult content genre back in the early 2000s.
Early
Her readers
2000s.
knew her as the author of the blog My Illustrated Life as a Slave. This blog showcased the lifestyle of her and her husband living out their S&M relationship in everyday life,
Duct tape censoring.
with her being the submissive and her husband being the master. The website, now defunct, was described by Delia as,
"This website is a documentary work of my life as an
Is this AI or is it actually her voice? I think it's AI.
owned slave. It is my public display, my exhibition, and my coming out, so to speak. This is not a porn site. This is real. This is my life as I have lived and live it still, complete with 10 years of photographs depicting me in many intimate social circumstances. The content, though literate and factual instead of fantasy erotica, is graphic and adult in nature, dealing with alternative sexuality, sadomasochistic practices, and the master/slave lifestyle, as well as a great deal of social and political commentary related to the
As described by Delia herself, her website includes numerous photographs of her lifestyle, including not safe for work content and photos of her body modification.
What is going on there? Is it just a tattoo or what?
As well as being a self-titled slave, Delia was an artist, specialising in self-portraiture. Though she claimed people never saw the true value behind it and instead fell in love with a false image of who she was rather than her true self, and that this blog was a reflection of that true self. It seemed as though she was a vibrant part of the BDSM community online and that she had many people viewing her website, even paying for a sum of 8,000 images that she had on file. As well as the photo website, she had a blog page linked, and this is where she would update her fans almost daily on every aspect of her BDSM life. As well as this, she provided her fans with an insight to her more mundane life. She revealed that she had been married for 10 years and had 2 children, though they were...
How the heck are you doing all this stuff with children around? By the way, I don't know this story. Obviously, everybody in the grandma knows Sad Satan, but I don't know this. I have no info on this.
never in the house and never knew of their parents' lifestyles,
You gave them away? Question mark.
as they were sent away to boarding school for most of the week. As mentioned, Delia updated her blog daily and kept her readers up to date with her day-to-day life. But on December the 1st, 2003, Delia went quiet. The last update ever penned on the blog page is quite disturbing and mentions that her husband had placed a padlock on one of her genital piercings, which she found to be incredibly uncomfortable. And this was the last that anyone had ever heard from her. Now, if you hadn't realised by now, Delia Day never existed.
Huh? Why would I even begin to assume that?
I won't be revealing her real name in this video due to reasons I will discuss in a moment.
Okay, so, I mean, I would assume the name is fake, but...
These are the same reasons I've censored her face in the photographs displayed on the screen. Now, what I mean by she didn't exist is exactly that. The name Delia Day was an alias for the real woman behind the persona, and a mere few hours after that last blog post was uploaded in 2003, she called the police and told them that she had just shot her husband in the chest. When Delia was taken into custody, the life of an illustrated slave was taken down, and has been offline ever since. Despite having confessed to killing her husband,
Yeah, why did she do that?
Delia received no criminal charges and walked off as a free woman.
Okay, we're saying this is... self-defense? Question mark? Did she not actually like this life? What is going on here?
Where she disappeared off of the internet, leaving no explanation as to what happened, and leaving a barrage of theories behind her.
Oh, she got shot. We don't know if he died, right?
It wouldn't be until 10 years later, in 2013, when Delia would be heard from again. In true Delia fashion, she created a blog site called Invisible Survivor, and finally told her side of the story, and it was truly disturbing. She stated that she never once posted anything on either of the websites, that she had not written any of the blog posts on the live journal page, nor consented to posting any of the vast amount of photographs which were there for the entire world to see. This claim
Yeah, so she was like a real captive. It was not consensual.
has been looked into by creators such as Scare Theatre, who have compared the writings on both of the blog pages. When comparing it with Delia's writing now on the Survivor page, the writing is vastly different, and it's quite obvious that it's two different people. In my opinion, and in the opinion of others, what Delia says seems to stand. Delia went on to say that it was her husband who had taken control of her life and had taken her identity and pretended to be her online in order to exploit her for profit. And behind closed doors, it wasn't much better. Delia said that he was abusing her and forcing her into a life of BDSM, and that he had quite literally made her his slave. She states that she killed him in self-defense as she couldn't take the torture and humiliation any longer. And this is where the story ends, unfortunately. It is incredibly difficult to find news sources about this case, and there is little to no media coverage of it anywhere.
I assume there is nothing for this.
Even the Invisible Survivor blog page has now been taken down, and it's for these reasons that I assume Delia Day is now trying to find some normalcy in her life after years of having her privacy violated against her will. And it's for this reason that I've decided not to disclose her name nor show her face in this video. This is a truly unsettling case for sure, and it really does prove that you never really know what your favourite influencers might be hiding behind the scenes.
YouTube's animal killer. This could be like literally anything. 'Cause you have like those, I don't know, stomping videos. Again, thank God I've never seen them. The videos where, I forget what it's called because it was like a big deal like a while back, where you had animal rescue channels. Like, oh, we found this animal in this bad situation, let's help them. And they're recording them, like, breaking them free out of some sort of, like, situation, like, dangerous situation. But if you, like, look under the surface, it's actually, wait a minute, they're putting these animals in dangerous situations and then rescuing them for money. or not for money, for YouTube, which equates to money. I think even sometimes they're like, oh, we tried to save X amount of this animal, but we were only able to save some of them, and some of them died. So it's like you literally put a bunch of animals into a situation where they could die. Some of them did die, and then you're taking it as, oh, you're the heroes, but you couldn't save everybody when you were the one who caused it in the first place. Okay, another viewer discretion is advised. Warning. Various images and phrases are censored due to community guidelines. Yeah, because YouTube is rough. And again, I think I need to start caring about this because I haven't had to care about it for all this time I've been doing YouTube. But if I'm about to become partner in X amount of days, because I'm like 190 hours away from having enough hours to become partner, which I possibly already have those hours. It's just YouTube is 5 days behind when calculating that stuff. So I might already have enough. I just have to keep waiting for it to catch up.
The concept of what is or is not evil can be subjective depending on who you ask.
Wait, I mean, it is just subjective, right? You can argue that it doesn't technically exist. It's just something we've made up.
The definition cannot be debated with the person that we're discussing today. In my opinion, their actions fit into the very definition of what it means to be evil. Meet Leighton Allen LeBoot, or as he is better known online, Dollyflesh. Leighton is a Canadian artist and was an occasional YouTuber. He uploaded a mixed array of content over his 3 separate YouTube channels.
Yeah, I don't know if I know this guy.
Flesh Dolly was a channel dedicated to gaming commentary videos. Mushy Doll was intended to be a rant and rave channel, but I
Wait, maybe I do know this guy.
assume later abandoned. And then there was his primary channel, Dollyflesh, which we'll dive into momentarily. But before he garnered the infamy under the name Dollyflesh, Leighton would upload photographs of his clay artwork to a DeviantArt account under the username Misery Magic.
I thought what we're looking at right now is someone's, like, it's like B-roll or it's like a picture of this guy. We've already seen his face. So is this her, but she's just censoring her face?
Now this all may sound fairly innocent. However, some of the artwork that Leighton would post seems to have a sense of the macabre around them. His account primarily featured creations centered around the dark and deranged, and it seems as though Leighton idolized one specific figure above others. That was John Wayne Gacy.
Who is an infamous serial killer.
And his infamous clown persona, Pogo.
Yeah, he's the clown guy. Clown serial killer.
John Wayne Gacy was an American serial killer and sex offender who targeted and murdered 33 young men and children in the Illinois area. Gacy had previously worked as a clown for various public and charity events, and thus would be dubbed the Killer Clown after his crimes had been discovered by the authorities. It is clear from his posts that Leighton had a fascination with Gacy's clown persona in specific. Gacy's influence can be seen with Leighton paying homage to his clown persona through his artwork, and eventually he went on to create his own clown serial killer character. His character was called Itchy the Maniac. Itchy the Maniac would become a reoccurring figure in some of his clay artwork on DeviantArt, and would later be featured in animations on his YouTube channel, where Itchy would brutally torture and murder women. But Leighton's fixation with the darker side of life did not end here.
Did you upload something like that onto YouTube? From what you could guess of what was happening there? I assume back in the day, however long ago this was, in the Wild West of YouTube.
Leighton also had a fascination with guns, but more
With what?
specifically, school shootings.
I'm assuming she said guns. Is guns a word that has to be censored now?
The investigation into the high school massacre is slow-moving and dangerous. The two gunmen who went on the rampage
She just said gun. You didn't censor that.
booby-trapped the building and even themselves. NJ Burkett begins our coverage. He is live in Littleton, Colorado. NJ.
As he did with the sculpture of Gacy, he also crafted a clay reproduction of the Columbine school shooting, in which Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris killed 12 students of Columbine High School in the spring of 1999.
I feel like it's like the origin of shootings like that. Not so funny story. 'Cause I don't know how else to describe it. In high school, there were some girls who would refer to me as Columbine because I was just kind of like the quiet. I don't know. Maybe I just came off as like someone who would do that, but obviously it's not okay, right? I don't think it upset me that much until like one day I was just like I got tired of hearing it and like I actually snapped and they freaked out and then they didn't say it again after that because maybe they're like, oh wait, hold on, maybe he actually is, like that. It's kind of weird though. It's not like I didn't have friends. I literally had a girlfriend at the time. Like I was literally walking over to my girlfriend. It's not like I was alone. Like a super loner. Was surrounded by friends and had a girlfriend at school. So it's like I don't know why they got the idea to call me that, but just a little fact there. Just to have something to talk about. That's technically relevant to this.
Layton then went on to upload a video of him playing a school shooting simulator, only furthering the blatant glorification he seemed to have for these actions of brutality. According to this Redditor, who claims to have known Layton at school, he corroborates Layton's hatred towards his classmates, stating that Layton had been expelled from high school for threatening to put a poisonous gas in the vents in order to seriously harm his other classmates. Another thing that was mentioned was that Layton had a little habit of collecting and creating weapons of his own.
I probably should have read all that. Is there more? That's
High school for threatening.
Lots of serial killer idolization stuff, a few cannibalistic, flirty comments, and he even said he got suspended from school for saying he'd put mustard gas in the vents. He had also said something about how people should just accept shootings at places of education because they are inevitable and going to happen anyways. Really creepy stuff.
To put a poisonous gas in the vents in order to seriously harm his other classmates. Another thing that was mentioned.
I was his online friend. He laughed about that to me. I just smiled and nodded. I mean, you're online, I guess. Just, I don't know, smiley face, nodding face. He then showed me his lockbox full of makeshift knives and shanks, and a gun, as well as his never washed but used a lot blank blank. It had black sludge in it. Never washed but used a lot. No clue what that is. Black sludge in it. There's so much that happened between him and I. He sent me cheese pizza after I told him I don't like or want to see that stuff. He is so unstable. Some for show, some for real.
Was that Layton had a little habit of collecting and creating weapons of his own. Now, if we look at the FBI's threat assessment report on identifying potential future school shooters, it's important to note that behaviour in specific plays an important factor and must be looked at. Though the FBI states that it shouldn't be indicative in assessing a threat, due to the behaviour in adolescence being ever-changing, they do go on to state that leakage in behaviour may be a more accurate point to look at when it comes to identifying future threats.
Behavioral leakage, whatever that means.
Leakage is defined by them as occurring when a student intentionally or unintentionally reveals clues to feelings,
Okay, I think I get it.
thoughts, fantasies, attitudes, or intentions that may signal an impending violent act. They may be spoken or conveyed in stories, diary entries, essays, poems, letters, songs, drawings, doodles, and videos.
Yeah, I think I get what they mean. Like, just someone just saying or posting anywhere that they want to do this stuff, or just like letting it slip that they might want to do these kinds of things, or have fantasies about them, or just want to talk about them in general because they're getting off on the fact that they're letting people know before they do it. Because if you don't know, I'm pretty sure the uh, Columbine shooters had had made Doom WADs, which is like Doom modified Doom games that were like recreating what was going to happen that they were going to do, and I think they just had like another game that they made that it was not necessarily part of that, but that's kind of like one of those things. Like that's a hint. That's something they let out into the world about what they were going to do. Uh, I think they might have just like talked or wrote about it too. I don't remember, but I know they made WADs, Doom WADs. That's what it's called, right? WAD.
Now, the idea of leakage is important to keep in mind as we further analyse the material that Leighton would go on to post. So, there was 3 main methods in which Leighton would communicate with his growing audience. He would post videos to his now deleted YouTube channel, and would also post on Instagram and Twitter. His Twitter account is currently the only social media of his that's still available to view. Now, despite his YouTube channel having been terminated, I was able to view some of the content that he'd previously uploaded. This is due to the user Dollyflesh Archives on YouTube having kept some of them, and thus immortalising Leighton's artwork on social media to this very day. Now, the first video on this archived page is titled Upload 1. Upload 1 is nothing out of the ordinary.
There's no description whatsoever.
It is a simple, rather childlike claymation in which blue guys battle it out, seemingly fighting through a zombie apocalypse. I'm assuming that this was uploaded sometime in 2016, if we match it up to his Twitter posts at the same time. However, the normalcy and innocence of his claymations wouldn't last. Leighton went on to upload this video to YouTube, the title of which is called Deceived. Again, some might state that it's not the most disturbing content that they've ever seen.
You can consider it to be an early warning sign, though, right?
But the childlike crafted plasticine figures give everything an unnerving edge. Leighton would only be a young man at the time of creating this. He was roughly about 16 when he began to depict snuff films and torture of women through his claymations. Now, there are some studies that state it's perfectly normal for adolescents to be interested or intrigued by death. So,
Yeah, because you can argue like getting this artistic expression out is actually means to not do this kind of stuff. So there's like a side for both of this. Like, oh, you see this stuff, oh, they must be crazy. We got to throw them in the slammer, right? Or the opposite. It's like, oh, it's healthy for them to vent out these kinds of imagery and art and whatnot. So he's at least doing it in an artistic way. Question mark. But it's just like trying to figure out, okay, which side is it? Is it just artistic expression, or is there actually something wrong?
Leighton's interest in gore can't be immediately ruled as an indicator that it could lead to any further action on his behalf.
Again, like back in the Wild West, this isn't the Wild West anymore. This is like 2016. This is like not that long ago. In the Wild West, kids were just looking at snuff like all the time. Rotten.com was around. Again, I avoided that website. What I understand, it's just a bunch of snuff pictures, bunch of dead bodies, bunch of horrible stuff like that. For whatever reason, my dad apparently had went on that site back in the day, in the Wild West era. But again, successfully avoided going to rotten.com. Just with all the other snuff stuff. But yeah, again, I'm pretty sure most kids before this guy's time were seeing really messed up stuff. Millennials essentially were seeing that kind of stuff. I don't know if Zoomers were like alive yet to be getting that kind of stuff, but millennials sure. And I guess everybody behind them if they were using the web. So millennials and behind. Zoomers maybe. Gen Z, it's already way past. Not Gen Z. Gen Alpha is already way past that. I think Zoomers were maybe a bit too young to even like get onto any of those sites or even process that stuff if they even saw it. They might have like aged at the right speed to not see that stuff. I'm not sure.
However, the issues start to arise when someone views so much of this explicit material that they soon become desensitized
sure.
to the very real notion of death and human pain.
Then you're getting into the gray area of just video games. We'll bring up video games as video games cause violence, which I'm on side no. There already has to be something wrong with you for it to be that way, I feel like.
Death wasn't the only thing that Leighton seemed to be interested in, however.
They're just talking about the desensitization of like seeing murder and gore and all that stuff. Because obviously you see a lot of that in video games, and you become desensitized to it. But of course, that's not real. But making these claymations, that's not real. It's just made of clay. Again, there has to be something already intrinsically wrong with someone beforehand.
The lines between his obsession with violence began to slowly creep into an interest towards sex. It appeared from what Leighton would post online that he was frustrated.
I'm assuming she's saying assaults, and he's like, well, I mean, you can understand what she said at the second part, but if you didn't, like, he's frustrated at the lack of intimacy, there we go, that he is getting. Which, I mean, you're a kid, chill. Granted, I mean, I feel like a lot of people, most people, were doing stuff in their teens, but still, as an adult, we just got to keep saying this stuff, even though we might have been doing that stuff back then. You just have to uphold the same standards to be like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. But again, to be saying that he's like 16, to be saying you're intimately frustrated is a bit much.
And the outlet for his frustrations seemed to be targeted towards his clay creations.
Huh?
The first red flag of a sexual nature was when he posted this photo on Twitter with the caption, "Sculpture I made that I fantasize coming to life." And shortly after this, he created another sculpture depicting himself consuming feces from the rectum of a woman.
Okay, weird. Obviously there is like a big red flag that he is just constantly depicting women being killed. Like, you could argue that's a problem, and it's not just random stuff, anything. It became specifically women.
Now, the remainder of 2016
And now that's turning into assault.
would follow the same pattern of posts to his Twitter account. Leighton would continue to upload his unsophisticated-looking clay figures, often seen in situations of violence, and would also upload more posts in honor of serial killers. Leighton even created this small iteration of Ed Gein with the caption, "Female Anatomy Obsession."
Just a yellow and red blur. No clue what's going on there.
It's unclear if Leighton's referring to himself or Gein at this point, but it wouldn't be too difficult to imagine that he was perhaps revealing some of his real thoughts to his audience, or leaking, as the FBI puts it. In early 2017, his artwork began to take an even more stomach-churning turn. This time, it was into sheer depravity. Now, although Leighton's clay work had seemed to improve quite a bit, with a definitive, distinctive style developing as each post was uploaded. He would soon upload a worrying image to Twitter, captioned, "Need time on own." Leighton once again depicts what I assume to be an iteration of himself, but this time having intercourse with a limbless and blood-covered dog. And only a few days after this post, he would do the exact same thing, but this time depicting himself with a pig. From 2017 onwards, his...
When did the... Let me just look it up before I even talk about it. I was looking up the... This might seem a bit weird, but I was looking up the release dates of Black Mirror. Because if you watch Black Mirror, you'll know why I'm looking that up, because of what she just said about the pig. That episode, the very first episode of Black Mirror, has something to do like that. And this episode would have already been out. It's 2011, which is like, I'm surprised it was that long ago. I didn't think it was that old. I thought it was like slightly newer, like more close to like 2016 or somewhere around there than like 2011. But yeah, that episode would have already existed by then, so that could have influenced him if he had watched that episode.
His post remained as disturbing as they had ever been.
Again, like, the content is not a problem unless there's already something wrong with the person. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Black Mirror. Black Mirror is probably was a really good show. I haven't watched it since like the first few seasons, but I thought it was really cool. It is kind of like a horror adjacent show, like horror commentary on society, question mark. But yeah.
Now, I find it quite difficult to look at some of the artwork Leighton posted to his Twitter, and I can't show you them here on YouTube uncensored for obvious reasons. But what you could expect to see, if you do want to go and find them for yourself, is images of sheer ultra-violence towards women, highlighting cannibalism, and depictions of himself having sexual relations with a corpse. One could argue that although Leighton's artwork is disturbing, well, it's just exactly that. Art. Art is allowed to be wild, confusing, and above all else, subjective. But his artwork, depicting not only others, but self-portraits of himself, partaking in some of the most vile acts that I can even think of, is strange, to put it lightly. He seemed to be obsessed with flesh in general.
We've been going on and on about this, but where is this leading to? It's called the YouTube animal killer or something, right? Does he actually kill animals eventually? Does he delete himself? Is he in jail? Does he kill humans? Because I don't know where this is going now, or if it's just us talking about someone who uploaded some offensive. Word offensive? Offensive seems weird to say. Offensive artwork. But does that eventually lead to him actually doing the offensive artwork in real life?
To put it lightly. He seemed to be obsessed with flesh in general, posting this to his Twitter. The menu today is A. Dusty flesh and snotty organs. B. Mushy flesh and intestinal sausage. C. Organic flesh and roasted butts. D. Crusty flesh and blood sausage. Or E. Sloppy flesh and organic tissue. Choose your succulent dish. As I mentioned before, intrigue in these morbid topics can sometimes be simple adolescent curiosity.
Yeah, just being an edgelord, honestly.
But Leighton was well into 18 at this point.
Still a kid, right?
And it seemed to go beyond mere developmental curiosity. If we refer back to the FBI notion of leaking, it is also valid to argue that Leighton may have been subconsciously expressing his deepest and darkest desires to the world. In fact, Leighton would shockingly go on to discuss adamantly that he wished to lose his virginity to a sex doll. justifying it to his audience in this YouTube video.
In my other video, I
actually hear him talking.
claimed I was looking forward to losing my virginity to a forward hot girl. I meant to say a forward silicone sex. How often will you find
I have no clue what some of those sensors are.
a girlfriend that's custom designed and perfect the way you look, or even one without arms and legs?
I was kind of thinking this before, because we were talking about him, like, making depictions of him, or not necessarily him, but just women being killed. It kind of seems kind of incel-y. We also have the intimate frustration. It just seems like he somehow got indoctrinated into this heavy incel mindset, and like just screwed up his development as a teenager to just be too. There's so many like stupid, like uncouth terms we'd use for this, which I'm just not going to use any of them. I don't know if I can think of anything that's decent to say other than, like I just said, incel-y behavior, but it's even further than that, to where his mind got warped in his youth. Again, on top of that, he has to have something wrong with him to begin with, but that times the whatever material he was absorbing at the time to create this kind of obsession with that level of intimacy. I'm because it was censored earlier. I don't know what it was, but I'm assuming when he said the black, something covered in black sludge, I'm assuming it had to be something that had to do with him being intimate with himself. I don't know. That's all I could assume, since it had to be censored. I don't know. And he's just doing that too much. I don't know.
Leighton also mentioned on his Twitter that on a now deleted YouTube channel of his, he debated why he thought bestiality should be legalized, which I suppose explains his morbid artwork surrounding.
He's just got too lost in the sauce as a kid, and it's warped his brain, I think, now.
That topic.
Again, on top of there had to be something wrong to begin with.
And just to top it all off, he would also go on to post a video of himself simulating delicious assault on a children's plush toy. Now, mere days before Leighton posted what would now be considered his most infamous tweet, he uploaded these photographs to Twitter. Artwork of him cutting up a cat with a caption, "I like cats better." And then only a few days after this, Leighton posted, "I think I'll purchase some hamsters soon as a form of company."
Wait a minute. I think I know the hamster thing. I don't know all this other information, but I think I know this hamster stuff. What is he going to do to those hamsters? He's going to kill those hamsters. I don't know how, though. I don't remember how he did it. That I remember. So I do know this guy. That's the only thing I know, the hamster thing. I didn't know all this other backstory, though.
3 hamsters.
I can't remember what he does to them.
Little did anyone know
Did he put them in the microwave?
that this post from Leighton may have been the worst possible one that he'd make.
Doesn't he put a video? He shows them off?
I recently purchased some hamsters
Yeah,
from
I've seen this video.
PetSmart. Trying to get onto my leg. He's trying to escape.
The video you saw on the screen just now shows 3 of Leighton's innocent victims, but not the video in which they're actually harmed. This video is simple. Leighton is sitting with 3 hamsters on his bed, and strangely enough, we can see Leighton react when the hamsters accidentally fall, and we can see him cuddling and feeding the hamsters. He seems completely unassuming and almost caring towards these cuddly creatures. However, it's the description of this video that shines a sinister light to the whole thing. Now, the description read, stabbed, pincushioned, microwaved.
Yeah, he did microwave one of them, but yes, he killed them in different ways.
These aren't endearing names that this budding psychopath had given to his hamsters. But these 3 words were the horrible, evil things that he had done to each hamster. It wasn't long before Leighton uploaded his crimes to YouTube. This video was called 1 Kid, 3 Hamsters.
Obviously imitating the snuff of, or snuff/shock videos of the Wild West. He just got too deep into that stuff. Like, he's just all in on that stuff. Like, again, well, not again, I haven't mentioned it this time, but again, Wild West videos, famous videos, 2 girls, 1 cup, I think 3 guys, 1 hammer, or something like that. Is that what it's called? Something like that. That one I think might be semi-snuff. The 2 girls, 1 cup, I think is just like gross shock. Again, I never saw any of these things. I was just that lucky. I made sure not to look any of this stuff up as a kid, as an adolescent. So I haven't seen any of this stuff. But those are infamous videos from back in the Wild West. And this is just mimicking those naming conventions, basically. Like, I'm assuming he watched all that stuff. He possibly somehow found the stuff. It's like he wanted to go back to the early 2000s, despite not being born in that time. Not being, like, sentient, I guess, during those years, I should say.
The title being another reference to another murderer. This time, it was Luca Magnotta, who published a video of a similar title, 1 Lunatic, 1 Ice Pick.
1 Lunatic, 1 Ice Pick. I swear to God, there's a video called 3 Guys, 1 Hammer.
This video was posted to a shock
Yeah, this one too.
gore site called bestscore.com. The video showcased Magnotta's crime of him killing Canadian man John Lynn, before then defiling his dead body on camera. And similar to Leighton, Magnotta also posted videos of him murdering kittens in various inhumane ways. It's unclear if Leighton had watched Magnotta's videos, but with his fascination towards death, gore, and necrophilia, and the inspiration for his YouTube title, well, I guess it's not wild to think that he might have. As expected, YouTube was swift to remove the hamster video, and Leighton didn't face any immediate repercussions whatsoever.
I think it's just because there's not any laws, or not necessarily any laws, but there's minimal laws for murdering animals, I think, is the issue.
Leighton would post to Twitter as usual.
So, he has murdered animals now, which means he might as well be labeled a psychopath, so he actually needs help now. I mean, you committed murder, even if we don't consider them to be worthy of punishment. You still committed murder, and murdering animals is like Psychopath 101. So something needs to happen. So that's like whether or not the parents realize something's wrong or not.
Throughout 2019 and early into 2020, even though it may have appeared to Leighton that he had gotten away with his crimes, in a seeming bid for attention and infamy, he went on to upload the animal snuff film, but this time he cut it into 3 separate segments and would then go on to post these to various animal-loving and child-friendly subreddits, knowing that it would upset and traumatize people. This was eventually what prompted the authorities to find.
Yeah, because it's not just you doing it, it's you're actively committing violence against other people by showing them this stuff. I don't know what that would be called. I assume there's some sort of law about this.
Finally, take
Of all things, because, again, like, the laws against animals is not there that much. I mean, there is, like, some laws and some punishments, but it's not as severe as, like, human stuff. But because you are now involved humans, now you can get punished for real. Because you involved humans in what you're doing. By showing them this animal stuff. The aftermath, we actually have extended content.
On the 22nd of May 2020, 1 year after his initial video was uploaded to YouTube, Leighton LeBoot, aka Dolly Flesh, was arrested and his crimes were finally brought to light. So the maximum sentence for cruelty to animals under Canadian jurisdiction is 5 years.
Oh, they actually have laws in Canada. I just figured there's barely any protecting animals if you like murder an animal, but 5 years, I mean, that's something. If you're convicted of this crime, the maximum penalty for indictable offense is 5 years in prison. If the charge is prosecuted as a summary conviction, the maximum sentence is a I don't know, something of a fine of $10,000 probably, a jail term of 2 years, less a day, or both.
But, as is the unfortunate way with most justice systems, in the end, Leighton wasn't given any real jail sentence, but instead was given what is called a conditional sentence, which is
Again, animals aren't respected that much in the law,
technically a form of house arrest.
so he just gets to hang out at home and do this stuff all over again.
The only rules that Leighton had to adhere to was to have supervised internet access,
Hopefully, and no animals within like a 5 million mile radius.
and a ban from pet shops for the next 4.5 years.
Banned from pet shops. Well, it says Kelowna pet shops. I'm assuming that's a very specific pet shop, or like a pet shop of that province or city. I don't know which one that is. Assuming it's one of those. That doesn't mean he can't just leave town and go to a different province/city and get pets from those pet stores. I'm assuming that's why it says specifically that name. It's only within that jurisdiction.
The public was understandably outraged.
Love me, don't kill me. Animal abuse is not entertainment. People who kill animals, I can't. Why can't I can't really read that. People who animals stop something. It's just too thin. Serial killers start with small animals. Yep, that's what we're saying. That's always like serial killer 101 is if they kill animals as a kid, they're going to start killing people in adulthood.
And they picketed the courts.
I can't get closer to see this. Like if you're on the phone, you can just like put up your face and see it, but my mic's in front of me. I'd have to move it out of the way, then lean into my monitor. It's just too much of a hassle.
They wanted Leighton in prison for his crimes. In court, Leighton pleaded guilty to animal cruelty, revealing that he had killed one by stabbing and amputation, one by drowning and crushing, and one in the microwave. Leighton mentioned that he had no remorse for the murder of these animals, and that he had done it simply because he was bored. He went on to further say that he didn't know hamsters could feel any pain due to their small size. The authorities revealed that upon further investigation of Leighton's home, he had pre-planned the killings of each hamster, writing a detailed plan in his diary.
And of course it's premeditated.
Prior to the incident. As well as the diary of Leighton's planning, authorities also found some troubling things in his bedroom, which included a dissection kit, recipes for chlorine gas and chloroform, a notebook filled with names of people he hated from his school.
Okay, well, now we have issues. We need to do something. Is he actually going to get punished? Like they said he didn't get punished, but like, can we actually punish him for this stuff?
And the address of a local firearm shop in the Kelowna area.
Can he even get a gun? This is Canada, not America. In this story.
Leighton's actions and complete lack of empathy and understanding of emotions is troubling. And despite admitting to the fact that he had also crushed a duckling by standing on its neck, and that he often had thoughts of murdering men and women, the courts still deemed Leighton unlikely to reoffend against animals or humans. And
y'all, like, I don't want to be mean, but like, what?
In the future. The courts gave his severe autism diagnosis being a reason for this, and stated that he was severely challenged and had a low IQ.
Okay, doesn't that mean that there's nothing stopping him from doing it again?
And was unlikely to ever live independently as an adult. Now, despite Leighton's reported social awkwardness, there was one person who claimed to have been his best friend. YouTuber Ali made this video on the 15th of January 2022,
Person gonna die?
detailing her experience with Leighton. She claims that Leighton was her best friend and that they shared a love of horror films together. Ali claims that at the time his artwork intrigued her, but now she looks back on it with a clearer hindsight. We saw that Leighton was easy to become a
Something, yep. That Japanese man, which we saw earlier. Like this guy. He was named earlier in the Sad Satan part, I think. I don't know if you can even see that, it's so dark. I saw him and I was like, is this Leighton's ancestor? XD. He's my inspiration. But I can't see that. It's just kids being edgy with each other, but of course he has issues.
obsessed
And she's just, a macabre obsessed girl.
with a clearer hindsight. We saw that Leighton was easy to become obsessed with darker topics, and Ali stated that he eventually became obsessed with her own social life, begging
The heck? How was... He sent her unsolicited nude.
to hear details of it.
I'm not reading this
And when
nonsense.
he wasn't discussing sexual topics with her, he was talking to her about his anguish towards school life and would discuss the various ways in which he would plan and think of killing his classmates.
I feel like, shouldn't she see that as a red flag? People of her age, I feel like, were born into being scared of this type of thing. So it's... I feel like she should have seen the red flag. Well, I don't know, say she should have seen the red flags. They probably just thought it was... they were being weird together. She probably just thought they were being weird together. And it was like cool to be like that. I mean, you can't really blame anybody.
Again, this was either through gas in the vents or by contaminating the water fountain. Ali states that their relationship began to falter in the 5 years that they spoke to one another, but that he reached out to her in 2019, stating that he had gotten the hamsters, and then bragged to her about having killed them. Ali speculates that he murdered the hamsters for attention from her,
Okay.
and to hurt her in some way,
Like, 'cause he's hurting animals, and that would hurt her.
for rejecting his romantic advances, considering
An incel behavior. He got too indoctrinated.
that they lived in different countries at the time.
Oh, online friend. So this is the online friend from earlier? That's what I was wondering. So this must have been the online friend that said that stuff earlier in this story.
Leighton's story is a disturbing and twisted tale. It details exactly what can happen when hyperfixation and obsession of gruesome topics goes unchecked by those surrounding someone. As of 2024, it is believed that Leighton is currently out on parole and will have supervised internet access as we speak. His crimes still have a lasting effect to today, and as recent as September 2023, there continues to be protests to cease the sale of live animals in Kilnoa pet shops. Whether or not Leighton will ever return back to the web is yet to be seen, but I'm sure that if he does, it'll certainly be an interesting comeback.
It'd probably have to be like a long time in the future, and he'd have to like not let anybody know that who he is. I mean, he could be back already. Maybe he's a VTuber, right? Just hide away behind a VTuber. Nobody would ever know. Rip little fur babies. You deserved better. The worst of Reddit.
r/brain fucking. Yeah. So This subreddit is first of all deeply concerning, and secondly, proves how disgusting and depraved human beings can be. Please skip this one if you're squeamish, as this definitely
That's not that. Wait, really? It's only like 2 minutes?
isn't for the faint of heart. A timestamp will be shown on the screen just now.
That's only 2 minutes.
r/brainfucking is a subreddit.
Not to be confused with a programming language. I didn't know it was. This is a place you probably will not be interested in unless you are into the pen of the organ called the brain.
Dedicated to the fetish surrounding the brain. Or more specifically, the fetish surrounding the arousal one feels when the organ of the brain is being penetrated.
The heck? Using a meme of... I forgot her name. Trisha? Name's Trisha.
What? Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't get much information on this subreddit, as it's thankfully now been taken down.
Really? Yeah. Maybe. It would be... I guess maybe it's not fine. What is okay on Reddit? Is talking about fetishes like that not okay?
But from what little screen caps I could find on the Wayback Machine, it seems as though this community was made up mostly of anime fans.
Just throwing anime fans under the bus for no reason. I was trying to remember what I wanted to say. It was just that I've said it several times before. I don't use Reddit unless I'm looking something up, so I don't know what the rules are on Reddit. Because I literally don't use it unless I'm like typing something into Google and it just happens to be like a search result that tells me what I need to know.
Or people into hentai, as a lot of the drawn images show tentacles penetrating the brain. I don't know what it is, but there seems to be some weird connection on the internet with anime fans and disturbing fetishes or obsessions. If any of you have seen my video about the r/obsessive love subreddit, you'll know that there is a very similar theme with that too.
Yeah, except that we can't see this video because apparently it does not exist anymore. I don't know what you do with it. Opiuhm. Where's the video? Opiuhm.
But that one centers around the yandere community, though with the r/love subreddit, those fixations seem to spill over into the real world. But hopefully no one that was on the r/brainfucking subreddit actually considered acting on these perversions, as it is not humanly possible to fulfill for obvious reasons. Regardless of the lack of information, I thought it'd still be good to include on this list as an opener, as it truly shows the bottom of the barrel as far as Reddit pages and human behaviour goes. If you're interested in watching my video on the also now deleted subreddit r/obsessive love, there will be a link to it at the very end of the video.
Is it unlisted? Is all your stuff just unlisted rather than deleted?
r/pictures of Ian sleeping.
What does that even mean? It's like it's a specific person. Is it just someone, like a subreddit someone made to specifically post pictures of Ian?
Well, this subreddit is a slight break from the disturbing nature of the last one.
When I hear Ian, I just think of Rathian from Monster Hunter. Because we just refer to her as Ian a lot of the times.
But it's still definitely creepy. This page dates back 12 years ago, and all consists of photos of one man, supposedly named Ian, always seemingly in a deep sleep. This Reddit page is quite creepy, due to the fact that Ian seems completely unaware of all of this happening, and also the fact that some of the pictures look like this. There is some clear commitment to these photos of Ian sleeping.
That's just the weird sleeping voyeurism thing that's been prevalent. I mean, we have the whole eyeball-looking guy on YouTube, right? Who was posting pictures of women sleeping. If you know that story.
And they were posted almost daily by multiple pre-approved Reddit accounts. Now, this all is most likely a joke set up by Ian's friends or flatmates, but the images didn't stop. Even when they posted an update saying that Ian was now aware of the photographs and did want them to stop uploading them, the images kept coming, almost daily, until 2019, and there hasn't been any new photos or updates from any of the moderators of this subreddit. The weirdest thing is, even if it was a joke, there is still 50,000 strangers online observing intimate photos of a sleeping Ian.
Online 1.
Most likely against his wishes. This page is still active for anyone to see, and is a showcase of the invasion of the most vulnerable moment a human being has. User/ConcernedDad 1965. Ask Reddit is a subreddit dedicated to questions of varying degrees. Whilst most questions are relatively normal and innocent, like, what's your favourite bird? The question that ConcernedDad 1965 posted in 2012 truly shook the users of the site. Now I'm going to read you the following first post in its entirety and then provide summaries of the updates that ConcernedDad followed up with. A quick trigger warning, the following post
More animal abuse stuff.
does detail animal abuse.
I think my teenage son may have sodomized our dog. I'm not sure what to do. Help me Reddit. Okay, for obvious reasons this is a throwaway account. So, I'm not even sure how to start here. The last couple of weeks my dog, 7-year-old lab, has been acting noticeably different. I guess I could describe it as distant and even depressed. He is normally an extremely outgoing and happy dog, very playful and energetic, etc.
Very old, right? Well, kind of old. Middle-aged dog.
But starting about 2 weeks ago he started acting very withdrawn and nervous around people, even his own family. At first I kind of brushed it off as feeling under the weather, but after about a week and a half I decided maybe he needed to see a vet. I got him in yesterday and after an examination the vet told me that he believes the dog has been sodomized. His anus had slight damage in a way that was consistent with that sort of thing. He said he can't really imagine that his injuries could have come about any other way. So already now I'm pretty upset and sort of freaking out. Who would do this sort of thing to a dog? I thought about all of the people that had access to the dog in my backyard. Gardeners crossed my mind, my neighbors, etc. The only people that live in the house are my wife, myself, and our teenaged son. I came home and thought about it for a while. I had this really ugly sinking feeling in my stomach about the possibility that it could have been my son. I decided to look around his room. I didn't really know what I was expecting to find, and I didn't really find anything in there that screamed guilty, until I decided to check his browser history.
I already see the word beast, but also don't say it's like some furry stuff. Like throwing them under the bus. I'm guessing it's some stuff like that. Well, it seems like it's pure beast stuff though.
I found he had been on a bestiality forum recently and a site with pictures of that sort of thing. I felt like I was going to throw up.
Where is he finding this stuff? Like, is this stuff actually on the regular web and not the dark web? I mean, I would assume not, since he's just checking a regular browser. I would assume that Dad would know about Tor. Because obviously that's illegal, and those images are illegal, just like cheese pizza. I think, right? So he could get in some serious trouble. I mean, on top of what he's already done. But just going to those sites, I'm pretty sure that's really bad. Like his kid can get into a lot of trouble now.
Now I know that this isn't definitive proof of anything, but it sure doesn't look good. The more I think about it, the more I am convinced my son has been sodomizing our dog. I haven't told my wife yet or done anything about it. I have not left him alone with the dog since. I am totally confused and upset and don't really know how to proceed with this. Reddit, please help. Edit. Thank you for all your advice to those of you who are serious. I understand this seems like a joke to some of you, but it's not to me, so for those of you that gave real advice, thank you. I think I'm going to take your advice and confront him about it privately, without involving my wife. It is not going to be an easy conversation, but it has to happen. My only worry is the possibility that he isn't guilty of this and somebody else did it. I guess then we still need to talk about what I found on his computer anyways. Ugh. FML. Thank you for being there for me, Reddit.
How old are you that you're saying UG and FML? Since I was assuming it was real and not, because people are assuming it's a joke, but I don't assume that it was. We just have to take it at face value. But the use of this makes it seem like this is not a dad and this is someone younger, but maybe they are.
FML. Thank you for being there for me, Reddit. Edit 2. Okay, my son just got home. I'm going to have the conversation with him when I can get a moment alone, and I will come back and let you guys know what happened. Edit 3. I waited for my wife to go to bed, which felt like forever because I was so nervous. But she finally did about an hour ago, and I went into my son's room to have the talk. I basically said, listen, I noticed the dog has been acting weird. I took him to the vet. I found out someone has sodomized him. Any ideas what might have happened? I looked at my son and he seemed ever so slightly nervous but pretended to know nothing about it. I expected this, so I brought up the sites I found on his computer. Naturally, this made him pretty upset and he got really indignant at the thought that I snooped around on his computer. Fair enough, I get it. But I got him back to the point and tried to be as understanding and fatherly as I could and just told him that whatever happened I am not going to judge him and he's not going to be punished, I just need to know the truth. After about 10 to 15 minutes of this he finally breaks down and admits that he put the handle of a hairbrush as well as fingers into the dog a few times during a day last week. He said he wasn't trying to hurt him and he stopped when the dog at one point freaked out. He said he didn't think he hurt it that bad and he was too embarrassed to tell us or do anything about it. I believed him in this, but he also didn't give a very satisfactory answer as to why exactly he would do this in the first place. I have to admit, either way, I was glad on some level to hear that he wasn't actually having sex with the dog.
Yeah, we still need to know why did you do this? Because you were bored? You have some sort of issues that your curiosity is just too much?
So basically, we agreed that I wouldn't tell his mom, but that we would find a reason to tell her that he needs to see a therapist for a bit.
I mean, obviously needs to go to therapy.
I know I told him I wouldn't tell his mother, but the more I think about all of this, the more I think I may eventually have to go back on that promise.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, give it a few years, maybe.
As for now,
Though, I mean, you're kind of like throwing yourself under the bus by not telling her, because like when you do tell her, she's going to be really mad at you. She might be mad at him, but she's going to be probably the most mad at you, and who knows what's going to happen out of that.
Dog is staying with the family, and obviously I made him swear up and down that he will not touch the dog like that again under threat of severe consequences. It's too early to tell if he feels remorse or is just humiliated. It's hard to say. It was very uncomfortable for both of us, but especially my son.
It wasn't long before OP updated everyone on the aftermath of this situation, and it was with bad news.
Bad news? What do you mean? You mean we have an update to that update?
OP updates everyone that he caught his son in the act again.
In the act, except, was it not a brush?
But this time, he was seemingly pretending to play tug-of-war with the dog whilst touching it inappropriately.
Okay, so no. Something else. Thankfully.
Now, of course, OP confronted his son about this and told his wife once she came home from work everything that had happened prior and with what he had seen today. His wife then stormed out of the house and went to stay with her sister in order to calm herself down.
Again, like I said, the father is the one who's going to get in trouble for this now because he didn't tell her faster. So, again, I was saying he's throwing himself under the bus by not telling her.
And the OP was left with the option of having to rehome his beloved dog for his own safety. OP's last update on the thread detailed that his marriage was collapsing and that his
Again, like I said, he threw himself on this bus. He's ruining his marriage because he didn't want to tell her.
son was now denying having ever touched the dog, to the point that Opie's wife now thought that perhaps it was him who had been interfering with the dog all along. Opie's life was in a state of pure and utter disarray. Now, the ending of this story has a bittersweet one. OP updates us one last time, saying that his wife left him and that he was now living with his new partner, and that sadly, Colby the dog passed away a few years prior, but lived out his last years comfortably and safely, and that the topic of his son he didn't wish to discuss.
Okay, so we have no clue what became of the son. Maybe he's like hanging out with the wife, but that could be a problem because if she doesn't believe the dad still, that means if they get a new pet and the son's issues haven't been resolved, she's gonna end up saying like, "Oh wait, I made a mistake. My son has been doing this, and I didn't believe my husband." Assuming that the husband is telling the truth from the get-go. I kind of assumed since the beginning, like I said, that if he doesn't tell his wife immediately, he's screwed. And we see that that is in fact what happened. She left him. Granted, it's more so just because she doesn't believe him, weirdly. YouTube's darkest content. Is this just like a amalgamation of different things? We got Reddit, we got YouTube stuff in here, we had Sad Satan. Again, I think these videos are just mix mashes of other videos she's posted, just as like a whole now. And then maybe again the Appalachia video is like the first real thing that she has done since these amalgamations, part 1, part 2.
Can you guess how many videos are currently on YouTube?
I don't know.
There are a whopping
It's too hard to count because I have 4,000 of them on my channel.
8 million videos on YouTube as of 2023 and 51 million channels.
8 million videos, huh? That's not right. There's only 8 million videos on YouTube. I literally have 4,000 videos on my channel. Right? Or is it not 4,000? Let me check that. I mean, like, look. I literally have 4,000 videos on my channel, 4.1k. Like, what do you mean there's only 8 million videos on YouTube? How is that even possible when I have 4,000 of those 8 million? Hello? There's no way. It should be like an describable number is how many videos should be on YouTube. There's no way I have so many out of that 8 mil. Like, hello? There's no freaking way that's the case. What do you mean 8 million? Again, like, how is there only 8 million?
On the platform.
Let me look it up myself. I don't think there's anything weird. Okay, so it says there's 14.8 billion. So that's closer to what I thought. But not really. That still seems like a small amount. But that's way more than 8 million. Maybe that video she made was like from a century ago. That's the only thing that would make sense for it to be so small.
This active and vibrant user base makes up for a whopping 156 million hours of content on this site alone. YouTube may be best known for its funny videos of cats and many beauty guru controversies, but my favourite part of the site is its vast ocean of creepy content that lurks beneath its depths. Now today I'm going to share with you some disturbing YouTube channels and videos that you may not have heard of before. OO390.
don't know. Just from those numbers, I don't know.
Now, if any of you have been keeping track of my community tab, you may have seen...
Okay, roll back just to see her channel from before.
Now, if any of you have been keeping
Like this picture.
track of my community tab, you may have seen me discuss this channel before. This channel was supposed to be a video all on its own, but I never received a response from one of my main leads connected to it, and I had to abandon ship, as there was no definitive ending. But since I dedicated so much of my own time exploring the channel, and since I mentioned it so frequently to you all, I thought it was only right to include it within this list. User 00390 is a channel that currently has 144 videos, the most recent of which was only posted a month ago.
A lot of subscribers.
This channel is set up to convince the viewer that they are a cannibal living in Italy, and one who specifically targets young women,
Of course,
with
always
even
is.
their YouTube description reading, "I like cold but alive girls." As many other people theorize, and as I believe now,
What is it? Real or is it an ARG? We're gonna drop the ARG word.
their channel is an ARG.
There it is. Did I have a mouse click in the middle of the screen? I could only assume that she was gonna say it's an ARG, which alternate reality game. I thought it was like augmented reality game. Because alternate reality game is fine too.
It's one created to tell a twisted story. But however, unlike some commonly known ARGs, there is definitely problematic and privacy invading content on this channel. One of their earliest videos, for example, is titled "Exploring Summer Night Streets." And like the title tells us, it is exactly what the video is. It's a simple GoPro style video of someone driving their car in the middle of the night, recording sex workers on some kind of red light district setup. And again, a video 2 years after this has the exact same premise, but only during the daytime.
If this is like bad, shouldn't she be censoring the faces? Is that necessary?
I have no doubt that if this specific video is real, these women were filmed against their will and their privacy has been exploited online without their knowledge. User 00390's channel does seem to walk the line between what is and what isn't acceptable in artistic terms for an ARG channel. Their videos are truly disturbing and never fail to send a chill up my spine, especially this one, uploaded around Christmas time last year. Now I'll give you a quick disclaimer. I am going to preview the video for you, and the audio that accompanies the video is quite upsetting. So if you want to skip past this, I'll include a timestamp up on screen just now.
Okay, so it's less than a minute. Turn my audio down just in case it's like not too loud, or just in case it is loud. Okay, we're censoring something. I don't know what we're censoring. They're screaming. I was wondering what the red stuff on the ground is. I think it's just tinsel, as you can see there. But that's it. It's just screaming and moaning in the background.
And this is all the information I have on user 00390's channel for now. I may do an update if I get a response to the email I sent, but as it was almost a month ago now, I doubt that I will be getting an answer anytime soon. I'll put a link for the channel below so that you can take a look if you're more interested in following the story that's unfolding. They are one of the longest ARG channels I've seen on YouTube so far, and have been posting pretty consistently since 2015.
The speed and like distance that was just thrown, like it's the plastic bag was meant to look like a body, right? But there was way too much speed and distance with that for it to be a human body.
Dateline 420. Dateline 420 is a channel that posts relatively mundane videos. They've been posting for 14 years, and the majority of their content is simple clips and memories from their day-to-day life. 6 years ago, they began to post some sporadic content of their woodland walks and general outdoor explorations. But this pattern was broke when on the 4th of October 2016, he came across this.
So I come down the fucking hill.
Creepy Stuff in the Woods, part 1 of 3.
Now remember, we're still in the woods. We're still in the fucking woods.
What is in your hands?
You see the fucking trees?
A knife?
Look at the white shit. Okay? I was like, okay, these are probably no trespassing signs, or
I've seen this, I think. It's just like a bunch of missing person signs,
maybe
right?
it's something for the wildlife or something. Look what
Yeah.
these fucking are.
Is it called SCP Overlord? Is that what that one's called? SCP Overlord is a short film that has the kind of same picture here, where it's a scene out in the forest, and they have a bunch of soldiers going to investigate this anomaly place. If you don't know what SCP is, just assume creepy supernatural stuff. They're going to go and investigate this creepy supernatural area, and there's a bunch of missing persons pictures like this stapled to the trees as like a taunt to the military guys. Well, they're not military, they're SCP soldiers, but still.
What the f is going on in here? These are all different fucking people, and they're all different. They're all fucking different. Every single one. Look at the tape. Look at the water damage. These shits have been hanging up for a while.
It'd be crazy if this what he found is literally just the SCP Overlord set, and they never cleaned it up.
Look at that. These are just the ones that I've gone and close up that I did close-ups of so far. Look at this. Look at this. What is this?
I remember first seeing this video completely by accident, round about when it was originally uploaded, and it absolutely terrified me as a child.
A child? How old are you? How old is that video? Is that video old or are you young?
The whole setup is absolutely baffling to say the least, and I can't imagine what I'd do in his position if I was one day minding my own business, enjoying the outdoors, and then walked in on some f***ed up shrine dedicated to missing persons cases.
Again, like, depending on the timeline, if this was shot after SCP Overlord, it literally could have just been the SCP Overlord set that they made that short film at, and they just never cleaned up those missing, fake missing people posters.
Many people in the comments were skeptical that this setup was real in the first place, but
What do we got, 5 years ago? 6 years ago? I don't think Overlord's that old. Let's see. Okay, there you go. This is the SCP Overlord. It's by Evan Royalty. It was 4 years ago, so it's not that long ago. But if you wanted to see that this is this person's name, this is what it's called. If you're going to watch that, I suggest all of this guy's SCP stuff. It is premium, though I'm kind of upset that he stopped doing SCP short films. Or they, him, they. If there's like a lot of these guys, the production is like high enough that it's like it must be a lot of people, not just this one guy. So yeah. Maybe I should actually find the scene that I'm talking about. You know, let's do that. Because I can just do whatever I want. So I need to remember that I can just do that. Let's go. Let me just shift through this video and find that moment that I'm talking about. Alright, I think it's around here. This seems to be ultra wide, so the video actually goes way farther to the right and the left here, but that's irrelevant, I think. It's the missing people posters. Let's just let this play for a second.
What is this shit? It would seem we're expected.
I see a bunch of them out in the forest. They all look kind of the same. They have the black stuff at the top. So these are similar. Or these are similar, but then they have the ones that are black as well. It looks like there's one even over there. Yeah. Again, this. Oh, some of these you probably can't even see. Okay, this one's on the screen. Oh, you can see all of them. Just that one's almost off screen. Yeah, it just reminds me of this. But again, this happened. This video was uploaded 4 years ago. That doesn't mean they didn't do this even earlier than that. So I don't know. Also, it depends on when she recorded this video. So I don't think it's this scene, but it just reminds me of this scene. So I don't know who took inspiration from who for that video. So should we like
But
go back and see if any of those match?
enjoying that out from what I do. The whole uploaded, and it absolutely terrified me.
Further.
Sub.
No, I don't see black strips, and they don't look like the same kind of thing. So
Absolutely.
it's not the same. It's not the same location.
I can't imagine what I'd do in his position. Walked in. Many people in the comments were skeptical that this setup was real in the first place, but Dateline 420 is adamant in his description that this is completely real and not staged, but at least not by him. In fact,
oh, maybe I should read that because he talks about stuff. So to the people associated with the actual missing, this video wasn't made for entertainment or amusement, isn't staged, and isn't meant to show disrespect to to your tragedy. At the time, I made and posted a video because I didn't know what this was or if I was in danger. I discovered this while hiking and wanted to put out a distress call of sorts on my social media in case this was the real deal and something happened to me. Friends of mine were able to follow my post until I let them know that I was safely out of the woods. Literally. Local law enforcement subsequently investigated and were apparently told by the residents of the adjacent property that the missing persons posters are being used as decorations for their upcoming Halloween party. The police accepted that explanation and have announced they will not be pursuing the matter. Occupants of the house have said the posters will be removed, but I have not yet been able to verify this.
And not staged, but at least not by him. In fact, this video was a 3-parter, and part 3 of this video was uploaded just in time for Halloween.
And they said it was for a Halloween party, so technically.
Dateline 420 goes to revisit the site, but he refuses to go to the previously documented woodland clearing. As he walks through the woods, you can see that there are haphazardly placed and home printed out do not trespass signs, and Dateline 420 doesn't want to chance getting shot if he is indeed caught trespassing. The user explains that the homeowners reached out to him, stating that the posters of the missing people were for a Halloween party and that they were all decorations and nothing more. Well, that's the end of that, right? Dateline 420 seems to think not. He mentions that the decorations have been there long before Halloween, and that as far as he knows, there have been no reported sightings of any Halloween parties near the location. Dateline 420 hasn't returned to the site, or at least not uploaded about it, and he seems to know just as much as we do as to the real intentions behind the missing posters. But one thing is for sure though, it's still really fucking creepy. Noah Martin.
Don't know what this is. So I have like over half an hour to go. It's crazy.
Noah Martin is a disturbing channel due to how upsetting it is. This channel is quite literally a showcase of a family's mental decline in front of the whole world. And the focus on the channel is a man called Jack, speaking to the viewer directly about his struggle with a disease called Morgellons. Morgellons is a disease which apparently causes painful lesions on the skin and leaves its sufferers to believe that there are fibers or bugs beneath the skin's surface. I'll show a clip of Jack speaking in his own words about how he thought he contracted this illness.
Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land. Welcome to my nightmare. Tonight, we're going to be working on some more gallons. They say these things come from chemtrails, a bunch of aluminum, and bioengineered.
The ringing on this mic is like a bit much.
Organisms of all sorts and barium.
If you have tinnitus, my bad. I actually do have that. I have tinnitus.
And something else I can't remember. But anyway, they say that 80% of the population will test positive, whether they have the lesions or not. So, I guess we'll get started.
Now, the thing that makes this disturbing is that Morgellons doesn't exist. There's no scientific basis in Morgellons disease, which may lead you to think that these videos are nothing more than the rants of a crazy old man.
Well, he was talking about chemtrails, so...
But you would be wrong. It gets much, much worse than this. The majority of these videos on the channel consists of his wife performing at-home surgery on various areas of Jack's body, with him being wide awake during every procedure. The videos on this channel are fully fledged gore videos of Jack getting chunks of his skin removed at home, with him being under no influence of any anaesthetic, apart from some whiskey. This channel is entirely disturbing, as it documents the mental illness of Jack and his wife, seemingly in a state of psychosis, to the extent of painful self-mutilation.
Kind of crazy, but how is that the stalkers of Reddit? It's kind of crazy that that's allowed on YouTube, question mark? Unless it's somehow considered educational, and that's why it's allowed if someone's literally being mutilated on YouTube.
It feels like there is
New viewer discretion is advised, just dropped.
It feels like there is always something darker lurking beneath the scenes every time I have the occasional browse on the site. It seems like there are always people sharing their deepest and darkest ideologies behind anonymizing screen names. They are completely hidden and free to share their every thought, no matter how vile it may be. And this is definitely the case with the subreddit r/obsessive-love. The Obsessive Love subreddit describes themselves as a subreddit dedicated to yandere content.
She talked about yandere stuff earlier, so I'm guessing we're just going back to that now.
Mostly from personal experiences or casual conversations.
So what are we going to get into? Like, we already know about the real life, quote-unquote, yandere girl. Is she going to get
This place
brought up?
is a safe haven for both the tamest and most extreme yanderes out there.
That's for the yanderes, not the ones who want a yandere.
Maybe like some of you, I was a little confused when I first read this description, as I had no idea what yandere was.
Okay, so she's clearly not an anime fan, which is why she threw the anime people under the bus earlier.
But after looking a little further into
By calling them like the ones who always has the weird fetishes, whatever.
it seems to be a trope applied specifically to anime, where the protagonist, who's mainly female, is obsessive or possessive over their intended partner, and willing to use violence in order to pursue and maintain an exclusive relationship with them. I think we can all agree there are flawed, fictional characters all throughout media who are glorified for the bad things that they do. And there is nothing wrong with having villains who display similar behaviour as the ones described above. And in fact, this subreddit is full of whining, obsessive anime bullshit under the guise of a cutesy facade. whining.
Definitely anime hater. Sorry for following you around like a pet and being clingy and wanting to kill anyone that talks to you. Do you still think I'm cute?
Obsessive anime bullshit under the
How are you?
guise
What are
of
you
a
doing?
cutesy facade.
We can just skip all.
But this all applies to the fictional aspect of this behaviour, which is perhaps the least problematic side of this subreddit, despite how cringy or wrong it may be.
I have no money in this race. I have no problem with this.
Despite what the description of the subreddit may suggest,
But I have no harsh words. Like if that's what you're into, that's what you're into. If you want to be one, sure, as long as it's not like real. Not like the real life yandere. Though she seems to be very potentially against it. She's letting some of the her thoughts leak out, I would say, calling it cringe and referring to anime the way she did earlier. I'm assuming she does not like anime. I'd have to assume. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Not liking anime. It just comes off that way.
Despite what the description of the subreddit may suggest, there are in fact real-life stories mentioned on this forum, and most of the users on here are relaying their own personal stories for validation and appreciation off of the other people who think this way on this site.
Are they a yandere victim, or are they the yandere itself?
Today, we will be exploring some of the disturbing posts on r/obsessive love.
I don't know. Lately, I've been thinking a little too much. I overthink things in the first place, but it's been a lot more than normal.
I don't know what's being said here.
The things that keep going through my head are not all that good. Most of it is either something about murder or suicide, not really out of the normal for me. Either something.
Let me just read this out, since we are doing this highly distorted voice that's inaudible.
I don't know. Lately, I've been thinking.
I don't know. Lately I've been thinking, with the audio, I mean, with the subtitles, actually easier to understand. But when I heard it from the get-go, it was just gibberish. So I don't know. Lately I've been thinking a little too much. I overthink things in the first place.
But it's been a lot more than normal.
But it's been a lot more than normal. Man, I can really understand it now that I've reset it and have the subtitles on the screen. It's so crazy how that made such a big difference. Should I even like read it out? Well, I guess I should if like someone's listening and they're not actually watching. They would be able to see the subtitles, so maybe I should.
The things that keep going through my head are.
The things that keep going through my head are
not all that good.
Not all that good.
Most of it is either something about murder or
most of it is either something about murder or
suicide.
deletion,
Really
self-deletion. Not really out of the normal for me.
Kind of always had those thoughts.
But
They've been getting more and more prevalent lately.
They've been getting more and more prevalent lately.
I'm not sure how to go about this.
I'm not sure how to go about this.
But I'm starting to want to kill anyone my beloved talks to.
I'm starting to want to kill anyone my beloved talks to.
Yes, it's a bit selfish.
Yes, it's a bit selfish.
But it's what feels right to me.
But it's what feels right to me.
He constantly says that he won't ever leave me.
He constantly says that he won't ever leave me.
But I can't help but to question that.
I can't help but to question that.
Question how long until it becomes a lie.
Question how long until it becomes a lie.
Question why he says it.
Question why he says it.
I just don't understand.
I just don't understand.
I was talking to someone about a problem I was having earlier. And she mentioned that he seems very passive.
And she mentioned that he seems very passive.
And then maybe he's one to develop Stockholm Syndrome
pretty easily.
She also mentioned that he might be unhappy.
She also mentioned that he might be unhappy.
Due to the fact that he's talked to strangers on the internet about a problem. Instead of talking to me about it.
I've been thinking a lot about it.
I
Been
don't
thinking,
know.
been thinking a lot about it. Should I just like have muted this and just like read out the subtitles? I feel like that would have been a bit easier than this. Should I just do that now? Let's just mute it. Been thinking a lot about it. I don't know. Sometimes I get pissed off with the fact he has theater. I mean, I'm glad he's do something that he loves, but I hate. Well, it's like actually glitching out now. But I hate that he has to interact with other females. There's a play he's supposed to do, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, or something, and he completely overlooked the fact that it upset me when he mentioned that he wanted a main role. I don't care that he wanted a main role. I'm just upset that if he did, he would have a wife in the play. And I hate that I know it's overboard, but sometimes I kind of consider a cheating. He shouldn't be doing anything. I kind of consider it to be cheating, and he shouldn't be doing anything with any other female. Uh, Another thing that pisses me off is that sometimes he's so goddamn dense and never seems to care anytime I bring up something that's redacted. What is she saying?
And never seems to care anytime I bring up something that's fucking bothering me.
Oh, it's just F word. Something. Oh, we can mute this actually. Not mute it, but like keep a little bit of audio up. That's bothered me. He's kind of dismissive about a lot of things. He never tries to see where I'm coming from, never tries to see what the problem is. Kind of like talking to a wall at times. I love him to death, don't get me wrong. He means absolutely everything to me, but it gets daunting when you can't even bring something up to your beloved because you know that they'll just ignore it or give a half-assed response. I often do have thoughts about just locking him up in my basement and taking care of him so that he doesn't have the options to leave. Are you just someone who's watched freaking Future Diary? Uh, a few, one too many times? Because like, literally locking someone up in the basement and taking care of them is literally what happens in Future Diary. The yandere in, like, the yandere, like she is the yandere at the top. Like if you were to look up like the number one yandere out of yanderes, you know, Kasai from Future Diary is the yandere. And she literally locks the main character up in her basement, ties him up to like a chair or something. And it's been so long since I've seen Future Diary, and I think she just wants to take care of him down there. I think she just leaves him there, and he's like miserable and like almost dying down there. It's been so long, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but she's literally just describing Future Diary with what she just said there, which leads me to believe that I feel like this is just someone who's watched that and now has like clung to that and wants that kind of lifestyle. Or the option to talk to anyone else. I know it's a little effed up to think this, but I honestly have a lot of thoughts about eating him so that he will be with me forever. I think that's also kind of yandere, like killing uh, the one you're affectionate about is part of that yandere stuff too. It isn't just killing everyone else who could stand in your way of the person you love. It's also killing the one you love, potentially, so that no one can have them anymore. And I guess cannibalism, that it just takes it to a further level, right? If no one can have them, if I can't have them, no one can. And then even further, I'll just eat them so that they'll always be a part of me or whatever. We have be with me forever, or other times I'll have the thought of killing him, then myself. The thought alone of him leaving makes me really sick. I'm not sure what exactly would happen if he did go, but I know that there's a chance of someone. What? What do you mean there's a chance? What do you mean? Let me turn that up so I can actually hear what's being said there.
Chance of someone dying.
Of someone dying. That's what I thought it would say. Sorry about that. That was a bit weird. I don't know if I should have done that or not. It was so hard to understand.
There are a few major red flags in this post alone. Firstly, the poster does seem to be quite young, in mentioning her partner, his theatre class, etc. So
I assume college. That's
I've taken the liberty to hide the Reddit username for this reason. The poster is in quite a deranged and upset mind frame, as they mention at the start of the post, thinking of damaging topics such as suicide and murder. This is worrying in itself, but especially so if this is coming from someone who I assume is only in high school.
I assumed college, but I guess whatever class that was said there is in the college class.
The poster mentions
Again, she's just on that Future Diary sauce. Like, she's drinking the Kool-Aid of Future Diary too much. Probably watched School Days. I haven't watched that, by the way. I don't care. I don't want to watch it. I have seen Future Diary, obviously, because I'm talking about it, but School Days, same thing. That one, she does kill the MC. Spoilers. Like, who cares? It's School Days. Just don't watch School Days. What else? What other yandere stuff is there? I don't know if there's anything as like serious as Future Diary. What was it called? Shoot. So it has a very colorful title. Not that the title itself is colorful words, just the title is using colorful colors on the lettering. Can I think of it? I don't know. It's just there is a girl in the show who's kind of like a yandere, and before I even knew what yanderes were, and she, when her and the boy were kids, I think she thought that the boys was like it was their fault for something. I don't remember. So she would actually like physically harm him, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, at one point she drops like a razor, like an like a box cutter from the top of the stairs onto the main character as children. Like, she's doing like really messed up things to him. But then I don't think you learn about that until like the end of the show, because she's like obsessed with him like in a loving way, I think, throughout the rest of the show. But then you find out she was actually really mean and torturous to him. And then she becomes kind of yandere-ish towards the end, because other girls are moving in on the main character. It's not a bad ending or anything. It's even kind of goes against how these shows normally go, because it's a harem anime where the main character always goes with the girl next door kind of character, the new girl in town, and he doesn't. He goes with, spoilers, he goes with like a friend, like not necessarily a childhood friend. I think I was kind of confused on if she's like a childhood friend, because the yandere, is a childhood friend. He actually lives with her, almost like she's like a stepsister, and they've been living together since they were children. So you can argue like they're childhood friends, but the girl that he chooses is more of like I don't know, like a teen friend. Like, they've been friends for a while, and it's kind of like just the black sheep choice, which is almost like never happens. This black sheep choice. It's always just the new girl in town, every single time. It's just the new girl in town, the first one who shows up out of nowhere. It's not the best friend, the childhood friend, or any of the other options. It's always just the new girl in town, which I'm on team childhood friend, and they never win. They always lose. So you can argue that one was kind of like the first one, and it's actually one of the first animes I had probably watched since like really getting into anime, because I didn't start watching anime until like 2012. Before then, I hadn't really watched much of the stuff outside of it showing up on TV. Like, this is like the first time I actually went out of my way to just consume anime. And yet it actually had like the subversive stuff of having the main character not choose the new girl in town. This one technically had two new girls in town, because like one of them was like an angel, one was like a demon. I don't remember. They were from some other dimension or other plane of existence. I don't remember. It's been a million years since I've watched that. Like, literally over a decade, because I just mentioned probably around where I had the years I had watched it. That we're just going on like a long rant. Again, that had a yandere. Those are the only yanderes that come to mind. The ones from that one, then again, she's just drinking the Kool-Aid here. Whether or not that actually comes out of it, something comes out of that, who knows? Uh, if she is still in high school, again, she's just being too obsessed with the Kool-Aid, and she might grow out of it. You never know. Maybe she won't. You'd hope she would.
That they don't want their partner interacting, let alone speaking to any other girls, even if it's just in a friendly or mandatory way. The very thought of it drives them to have rage-filled thoughts. The poster then goes on to mention that she has thoughts of locking her partner in the basement or fantasizes about eating them. It's worrying that they have such abusive and obsessed traits in their thinking towards relationships so early into their life. And
I don't know, it just seems like an edgy girl. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of girls were like that when I was that age. You'd be surprised.
Good view of reality. It is apparent that they know that thinking this way is not acceptable to the wider society, yet they still vent about feeling this way, and it's clear that they want to have their feelings validated on this forum, instead of seeking serious psychological help. I really do hope that the person comes to this realization in the future that these thoughts are not normal and are not healthy.
As of the time of editing this video, the original poster has since deleted this specific post, their entire Reddit account, and I only hope they saw how deranged they sounded and sought out help. Again, I feel like this was just another Tuesday for, like, you know, rocker girls back in my day, so...
And that if they do continue to fester with thinking these things, they may never have a healthy relationship, or worse, might actually act on these violent urges and thoughts.
Of course it's unhealthy, but I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying this is not out of the ordinary from my perspective. Again, I just think they just drank the Kool-Aid too much, and they need to, like, get over that show. Assuming they did watch that show, just makes sense because they literally said locking them up in a basement somewhere, which is a scene literally taken out of Future Diary. Mariah Nikki, I think, is
There are also
the Japanese title.
many instances of people providing advice to others who obsess over someone who's already in a relationship. This advice can range from the correct answer of leaving this person alone and leaving the relationship alone.
Are you still talking about the Yandere Reddit?
But it does get darker, and some users state that they should instead start catfishing either the person who they quote-unquote love or their partner in order to ruin the relationship so that they can swoop in and seem like the savior, to then coerce someone into being in a relationship with them instead.
Let's just back it up. I just remembered because I want to make a comment on it. The thumbnail for this video is like a monster or something. It's like almost like the Jersey Devil. I don't know if it is like supposed to be like a picture of the Jersey Devil or it's like a picture from some sort of, you know, horror video online, some fake horror monster video online. We'll just refer to it as Jersey Devil. Are we gonna have like a Jersey Devil story during this, or is it just there to have spooky image on thumbnail?
In order to ruin the relationship so that they can swoop in and seem like the savior, to then coerce someone into being in a relationship with them instead, something which again they think is completely normal behaviour. And it seems that their only goal is to be with this person who they idolise, no matter what pain it may cause them. It's important to reiterate that this way of thinking is not normal in any capacity, and is not how someone should approach relationships. This way of thinking is not only detrimental to the person who feels this way, but to any potential partners who they may eventually pursue. This way of thinking and the behaviour that then manifests itself is something that needs to be addressed with any mental health professional, and something that needs to be eradicated before getting into any type of relationship with anyone. Human beings are not objects to belong to anyone, and the objectification of someone down to something that can be owned and obsessed over is simply not acceptable in any shape or form.
This video will contain topics of disturbing nature. Yeah, I think these are just all like just clips of a bunch of different videos sewn together, right? So I think we're like actually are 100% sure that's what the case is, since we keep seeing viewer discretion over and over again. I'm guessing that's because those videos had that at the very beginning. These include segments discussing animal abuse. Again, viewer discretion advised.
You commute to work, perhaps the most mind-numbingly repetitive part of your day, and one that rarely changes. This is usually the time of morning where your mind is still fogged with sleep, and all you can think about is sitting down at your desk to sip on a hot cup of coffee. But as recurrent this part of the day is, would you notice if something had gone amiss? Would you notice if there was someone lurking, someone following you? This is precisely the situation that YouTuber Boogie731 found himself in. And he has it all documented on his YouTube channel.
Is this real or is this an ARG?
The first video in the stalking saga is simply titled My Stalker, where
It's hard to read the text there.
Boogie records the tail-ended conversation that he has with a man who he refers to.
Yeah, go back so we can see what this is. At this point I stopped the
Stalker.
The music. Okay, we gotta go back further.
The first video in the stalking.
So I stopped the music, something phone, and turned on the video
saga
camera.
Is simply
Yeah, on my phone. I stopped the music on my phone and turned on the video camera.
titled My Stalker, where Boogie records the tail-ended conversation that he has with a man
I repeated multiple times that I didn't want a friendship.
who he refers to as his stalker.
There's nothing you can do to convince me.
But why?
Because you make me uncomfortable. Because I don't want to be near you. Because you touch me, you talk to me, and I don't like it.
There isn't much context provided in the video, as the clip shows Boogie arguing with a disheveled looking man who clearly
Disheveled? Is it? Can we actually see that? I think because she puts like heavy vignetting and effects on everything, so maybe you can actually see clearly what the guy looks like. Because we're just saying disheveled by from this just what appears to be a heavy coat, if you know this is what this actually is here. Maybe that's why.
clearly thinks that him and the poster are quote-unquote friends.
They kind of look like they're wearing a beanie.
But what makes you uncomfortable?
You do. Your mere presence.
Through the text
Your
on
mere
screen,
presence. He had followed me over the course of several months in the parking lot, spread out into weeks worth of days.
He lets us know that this man had inquired about his train schedule numerous times and had called his number at work.
Okay, now we can see him more clearly.
Which begs the question as to how this complete stranger knew all of these intimate details about Boogie's life. The only plausible answer was that he must have followed him from a distance, and, at first, it must have gone unnoticed by Boogie. In this first clip, Boogie confronts the man, begging him to stop following him because it makes him uncomfortable. The stalker tries to pin it on him being prejudiced as he is Filipino and gay.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if the guy likes him or not. I was wondering if he might be gay, and I guess that's possible unless he's lying.
Never interested.
Why?
Because I don't like you.
Why can't you expand your cultural diversity and just, like...
Cultural diversity?
Why don't you expand your friendships, not just more than, have you know any Filipino?
Yes, I went to school with one, yes.
Okay.
I know a Filipino, I know a gay guy.
Okay.
My cultural diversity is pretty expansive.
Okay, so with that in mind, why don't you give me a chance?
But Boogie promptly shuts these assumptions down, simply boiling it down to his actions being completely unacceptable and, understandably, creeping him out.
What is happening here?
Being completely unacceptable and, understandably, creeping him out.
I don't know if he's like balling his fists and like shaking a bit, but no. He seems like he's obviously obsessed with this guy, and possibly might have some mental issues. I don't know.
He begs his stalker to stop following him, but the stalker simply responds that he doesn't know how.
And just to get some help.
But I can't help myself not following you. For some reason, I can't.
He's like bouncing on his tippy toes there. Some sort of like tick, nervous tick.
I can't.
Can you imagine the utter pit in your stomach that you would feel at a comment like that? Imagine trying to talk sense into someone who's completely incapable of understanding the sheer depravity of their actions. I can only assume this is how Boogie feels in this current situation.
I don't know why you're even talking to this guy, because he could like attack you. But I don't know why he's extending this conversation for so long. I guess he's trying to get him to go away, but this guy has a bag. I'd be worried that he'd pull something out of it, you know? He also adds a coat, could pull anything out of the coat.
The first video ends with the stalker agreeing not to speak with Boogie anymore, though rather
I mean, that's not going to stop him from following him.
Threateningly states that he will still be on the same train as him.
I am still going to ride the same train you are.
The stalker then walks off into the sunset.
Okay, well, at least he left, I guess.
Video 2 is shorter, at only 20 seconds long, and shows the stalker on the same train carriage as Boogie. If you watch closely, the stalker blatantly walks past a vast array of empty seats, only to sit right beside the ones that Boogie himself is on.
Sure. Though, benefit of the doubt, devil's advocate. If I'm riding the bus, or when I did used to ride the bus, where the camera guy, I guess Boog, we'll call him like how she's calling him, where Boog is, I would want to sit there, or I want to sit where this guy's sitting. So if all these seats are open, I'm sitting in one of these two seats, or the seat below this guy as well. I would not be in any of these seats over here. It would be those two seats. So you give benefit of the doubt there, but of course it's probably just because he's stalking. He's obsessed with this guy. But again, if this was me, that's where I would want to sit. It's more so where Boog is sitting right now.
He walks past a vast array of empty seats, only to sit right beside the ones that Boogie himself is on. Now, I know some of you out there may be asking me to play devil's advocate, and
Devil's advocate, how? Weirdly that I just mentioned devil's advocate, and she's bringing it up. Like, how are you going to be devil's advocate?
Hypothetically, for a moment, I will. Some of you might think that Boogie is being overly paranoid, and that this whole situation may be much more innocent than it seems at first.
Okay, that's not what I thought, so that's fine. I mean, sure, but it's possibly just a dude who's in love with you, and he just can't take no as an answer, though. That's what it seems like. That's what the actual situation is. It doesn't have to necessarily be stalking, but even though it seems like he's stalking, it's just this guy's in love with you, and doesn't know how to take no for an answer.
First glance. Perhaps our stalker is new to the area, and noticed that he and Boogie shared the same commute to and from work. If you saw the same face day in and day out, Perhaps a simple hello on the walk to your car may seem fair enough, but the next video might change your mind on that.
Sure, what's gonna happen?
So the next video in our saga again takes place on the train, but this time dated on a different day.
That was a long time ago.
Which can be proven as the stalker is wearing different clothing from the video prior. So, Boogie is sat on the train, and this time, the stalker is chillingly close to him, sat directly beside him this time. Boogie gets up and leaves the carriage.
It's hard to tell where we are on the train.
Walking outside.
With how like small this field of view is on the camera.
He then swings the camera over his shoulder, and there is the stalker, once again following him at a rather close distance. For him to be that close to Boogie, it seems as though he moved at an incredible speed, as if panicking at the sudden loss of having Boogie out of his sight for even a second. Instead of walking further down the platform, Boogie hops on a different carriage, finding another seat. And once again, the stalker plops himself right down across from him, his eyes darting back and forth in the most inconspicuous manner I have ever seen. The final video Boogie would post on the mat,
I mean, that's pretty oof,
is similar to the last two. This time, he conducts a little experiment and attempts to test whether or not the stalker, who is now referred to as Jared, will follow him. So, he waits until the last possible moment
in different clothes
before darting out of the doors. And with his same incredible speed, Jared is behind him once more.
I mean, it could be an ARG, but it also could just be a guy who's obsessed with you.
Boogie is growing visibly frustrated at this, and at this point attempts to push Jared back onto the train.
Physically, that's... Oh, you can't be playing like that next to the train. I understand that you're upset, but you might end up accidentally killing this guy.
But Jared's having none of it and pushes against Boogie's attempts and tries to step off time and time again until finally a train attendant intervenes. She instructs Jared to stay in his carriage and then quickly escorts Boogie to one further up, hoping that this would separate the two for good. However, in an almost horror film fashion,
or is he already there on the next train?
Boogie pans the camera up once more, and who else is sitting there, directly across from him? This is the last video Boogie posted about his interactions with the stalker. But if we looked at the description of Boogie's videos, Boogie seemed to have finally shaken Jared's bids for attention. This is the description. Thank you for all the concerned and constructive comments and feedback on these stalker videos. These videos were recorded in 2011, and since then, this guy has disappeared. After bringing the police in on the matter, I think he got the hint, and I was left alone. There are numerous other events that weirded me out, which aren't detailed in these videos, but I was lucky and was unscathed in all of my interactions.
So, sure, that could have been how it turned out. Could be technically even a sad ending, and maybe this guy, just wanted attention from this guy, didn't get it, now he's not here anymore, if you get what I'm talking about. Which, I mean, he shouldn't have been bothering him, but still, that could have been happened. Or the even darker thing is that this isn't Boog talking, and this is the stalker talking, making it seem like everything's okay, so no one tries to inquiry anymore. And that's like the worst case scenario, right? Like, he actually did get him, and now has control over his channel.
Now, I've done some background research, and from the videos of the train, the incident seemed to have occurred somewhere in Dallas.
Dallas. Well, it's always gonna be Texas. I wouldn't have been able to catch that because I haven't been to Dallas. Have I? I don't think I have. See, the train, I wouldn't know how it looks like because we don't have trains where I'm at in Texas. So I was just using that train as if it was like a bus. I was thinking about it as if it was a bus.
But as far as I could find, Jared hasn't committed any significant or serious crimes since.
Are you saying that you know who he is and he's just living his life?
Or none that was at least reported on. But these videos give us a chilling insight to the mind of someone deeply deranged. Someone who stated that he simply couldn't stop himself until one day he decided that he could.
What's that sound effects? Like video game sound there. The bridge. The bridge.
Urban exploration is something I've always been fascinated with.
What is this? We've seen a lot of bridge stuff. Is this the Reddit bridge where it's like supposed to be the devil's chair, that cringy thing, or the place underneath the bridge? Or is this the one where the people were filming on the bridge and a train came and actually killed some people? It killed at least one
I
person.
absolutely adore watching people trek through cavernous time capsules of what once was to show what is now left. However, sometimes in these explorations, there seems to be something disturbing lurking beneath. Something that would take you completely out of your comfort zone and having you wish that you hadn't ever dared venture into the dark abyss. This is exactly what happened to this user and his friend whilst urban exploring in the town of Conwy in Wales.
Okay, well, we're already in England, which is we're pretty close to the bridge with the chair underneath it. Like inside the bridge.
And this is their story.
If it is, don't read the whole thing out to me, please.
Was going to be short. But the memory sprung into my mind a couple of days back and I thought it would be worth sharing. I live in North Wales in the UK. For anyone who has had the pleasure of visiting, it is truly a beautiful place to live. Though, for an adolescent boy, it is certainly lacking in things to do. As a result, my friends and I would often find ourselves mindlessly exploring areas of the countryside and the coastlines. Despite it being quite sparsely populated in comparison to the closest cities, there is a dual carriageway running right along the coast from Wales into England. Also, train tracks run alongside this road for most of its course.
I believe this is the story, which we have already heard. Like, the entire written out story and pictures for By the Void, I believe. The Void, and one of the Void's the Dark Side of Reddit videos, I think it's what it's called. So it's kind of like oof to just hear like a one-for-one, because with stuff with like Reddit, it's just a story where you can just have it read completely out. So having read the entire thing out again, when we already know everything, is a bit rough. Like any of the other ones, even like Sad Satan. Like I've seen Sad Satan a million times, but it's perfectly fine because different way it's being talked about by the person. But with something that's just a Reddit story, you're just hearing the exact same words being spoken to you again. So I don't know if we want to just like fast forward through this or
occasionally passing overhead by a small cement bridge. Anyway, there was one night a few years ago when four of us randomly decided to try and explore the inside of one of these bridges, as one of the group had observed a covered manhole nearby, which we believed to be the entrance. On closer inspection, we discovered several tools would be required in order to gain entry.
Yep, this is a picture from
we
that.
returned with the necessary equipment and proceeded to unbolt the cover. This had to be done stealthily as the train track was right beside us. Not close enough to be of any danger, but definitely a sufficiently small distance to cause panic for any train driver. And panic usually means police. It wasn't long before we had removed the heavy steel disc and had started descending the ladder down into the structure. Once we had all safely reached the bottom, we decided to progress to the other side. At this point, we are totally confined into the narrow space that leads into the main area. If you're confused as to what the hell this bridge is supposed to be, you probably should be. I mean, I would never even have known that there was an inside had we not found the manhole. So, as we squeeze and crouch, and at one point scrape along our bellies to the other side of the structure, there's a growing sense of claustrophobia between us. The distance from one end to the other is surprisingly long, but by the halfway point, you can look down through the narrow gaps onto the motorway below. This was actually pretty cool, which helped keep us calm in a strange way. At this point, apart from the mild discomfort and confinement, we were still just a group of guys on an adventure. This was all about to change, rather dramatically. No more than a few meters beyond halfway, which we could tell due to the symmetry of the passageways through the bridge, one of us claimed that they could see some sort of object in the distance at the far end. Slightly and rather hesitantly, we agreed to investigate. Bad move. I reached the end first, and let me tell you, I've never felt the same sense of dread before or since. In front of me was a single fold-away chair positioned facing a wall.
Yeah, there's the devil's chair, the devil's throne, whatever they refer to it as. The moment I was like, okay, this story is like full of it. I literally used the term taking the piss, which is a kind of a European phrase, because that just felt like what they were doing. And I was like, okay, you're lost in the sauce now. This is just some sort of joke ARG story to have some laughs online at this point.
On the wall was a partially torn page from a newspaper or magazine showing a fully naked lady in an erotic position.
This is allegedly not the picture because they said it wasn't there anymore. Like the actual picture they ended up taking later on, it's not. They said it wasn't there anymore.
The reason I don't just refer to it as porn is because something was different. I can't put my finger on it, but it seemed more sinister than sexy, if that makes any sense. More disturbingly, the eyes of the woman on display had been cut from the page, removed with precision, not just hastily ripped off. The scene that lay before us had rendered us completely speechless, and an overpowering sense of panic could be felt collectively. And that was when we found the condom. The horrendous, gut-wrenching, blood-drenched condom. Needless.
You have to censor that word too. If you want what I had said in that video, because again, if you want to see my reaction to this story, because there's not much for me to say when it's just a one-to-one reading of the same story we've already read. I literally said, even though it was kind of cringe, and it's like Zoomer, new Zoomer lingo, they had just stumbled upon some person's, possibly slash homeless man's, goon cave. And like if you want to get like a reasoning for why the eyes were cut out of the picture is because they knew they're doing something inappropriate and they don't want to be seen as while they're doing something inappropriate. That's probably about what I had said with the whole thing there. And the blood could just been some sort of condition that the person has. Since if they are homeless, then they probably can't get medical help. But of course, I'm on the side that this is just all fake anyways. Because it gets too goofy, and the words they use is too goofy, and they're just playing around.
Let's just say we got.
I mean, this blood drenched, is already too goof.
Out of there
Doing
as
too
fast
much
as humanly possible, smashing our knees and shins against the sharp cement edges that lined the path to the ladder by which we had entered. Of course, we were all praying to God that the manhole hadn't been resealed, but it was impossible to tell until we reached the ladder itself. Thankfully, the exit route was clear, and we promptly dashed away as far as our legs could carry us.
This might be the complete ending. There's only 10 minutes left of this video.
I'm sure this ending comes as a disappointment to some of you reading this, as we, luckily, never bumped into the twisted individual who sat in that chair. But I must stress how radically out of the norm this was, given where I live. The reason I mentioned the population earlier was with purpose. There is easily enough people here to escape the realms of crazy country folk.
He tries to make it seem like there aren't any homeless people around. Like, their city or town has literally only one homeless man. Like, it's just this perfect utopia where there's only a single homeless man in all of their city. Okay.
Yet nowhere near enough people to have someone clearly lose grip on society without someone taking notice. For example, there was literally only one homeless man who everyone in the area knew and grew fond of, eventually resulting in a mass gathering at his funeral when he passed away.
But that implies that there's zero homeless people here.
I sometimes think, though, not recently, as I had more or less forgotten about that night entirely, about the person who climbs down into that bridge and navigates through the darkness to sit facing a wall and to God knows what, that ends up with a condom full of blood. You honestly couldn't envision a more surreal situation. It has just come to my realization that what we unearthed that night had not once been uttered to another soul. As a naive teenager, it was the type of thing you just wanted to forget. But thinking about it, we probably should have let the police, or at least someone else, know about what was down there, because it wasn't the doings of a healthy-minded individual. So there you have it. Apologies for the length, I got a little carried away, and I wanted to make the reading experience as similar to the reality as I could. Now I'm a few years older and hopefully a bit braver, and considering going down there again, accompanied of course to see what fucked up shit might be waiting. This could well happen in the next couple of days, and rest assured I will 100% post an update, as I currently have no job, so time is plentiful. Thanks for reading.
Yeah, there's a lot more to the story, so I'm assuming that is just going to be the other 7 minutes of the video is going to be the...
Wow. What a story. Some of you might be thinking that OP was stretching the truth, especially due to the fact that this was all posted on r/nosleep, where...
I still think it's stretching the truth, because... I mean, I've already seen the entire story. I've already seen this read out before, so even after reading the extra that he does, and actually goes down there and takes pictures and all that, I'm still like, okay, I mean, how he's trying to depict the situation is too much.
Most of the stories are definitely an exaggeration and a work of fiction. However, all of the pictures I showed you during this story were indeed attached as part of the original Reddit post.
Yeah, I mean, no one's saying the thing underneath the bridge doesn't exist.
In fact, only 2 years ago, which would now be close to a decade after the original post, another Redditor local to the area decided to provide an update.
Someone else has an update, not just this guy?
Proving everything that OP said was true.
Okay, well, do we have updated info on this? Because the Void didn't mention anything about this.
However, whilst the original bridge story speculated that the items had been abandoned due to the date on some of the magazine posts and the packaging of the food items supposedly being from the late 90s, the update on this post from 2 years ago states that the bloodied condom had been moved, but everything else was in the exact place it should have been. Now this is strange. Either the bloodied condom had never existed in the first place, or it was removed by someone after the post from 2012, even though the site was seemingly abandoned since the late 90s. This new post states that the bridge had become somewhat of an urban legend to the town.
Okay. Those pictures are the ones I'm pretty sure that were supposed to be the same guy. I could have sworn those extra pictures, what you're talking about now, is just the same guy going back.
And that there was one new item placed in the tunnel. A scalpel, and some dried brown substance on the magazine clippings.
Okay, so that was not part of the original story, and that just seems not real. Oh, whoops. I kept accidentally scrolling down.
Like blood. However, it is mentioned that he wouldn't be surprised if it was due to other locals simply being curious, and adding more to the legend. If anyone listening is interested in visiting the infamous bridge, I'd strongly suggest against it due to...
Well, I mean, now it's like, you can't trust anything. Now that's an actual, like, urban legend. Anybody could be going in there and dumping stuff off. Anybody could just go in there and sit around, wait for people to show up, and then spook them, and make it seem like it's real. The authorities might even know that and try to spook people.
The safety concerns of the manhole being closed on you, and the sheer amount of dust within the tunnel. However, if someone brave enough does dare to venture down there, I would be interested in seeing your findings.
Still 5 minutes or so. Lucky the cats.
The next segment isn't strictly an internet-only horror story, though it was published by The Cut magazine, which is an online-only publication as part of New York magazine. In an article released by them in August, they allowed a deranged and quite frankly shameless individual to spill their guts out on their postpartum rage towards their cat named Lucky. Now, this wouldn't be a huge issue if it weren't for the fact that this woman states the stomach-churning methods of abuse that she unleashes upon her poor, unsuspecting cat. The anonymous narrator begins the story with the information that she purchased Lucky in her 20s as a means to an end.
A means to an end?
A simple cure for boredom.
Ah.
Which is problematic enough. At first, Lucky was shrouded in love and care and would lounge on cashmere blankets and give affection on her terms, as most cats usually do. She then goes on to discuss her and Lucky's life in her 30s and the pure hatred that she now feels towards her feline companion.
Shouldn't it be like elderly? Getting close to being elderly? Question mark.
With a new baby and a husband in the picture. The writer frames her actions and almost attempts to justify them through the lens of her postpartum depression. Quote, "Basic needs went unmet. I often forgot to feed Lucky, which caused her to eat household plants in desperation and then puke them up. I forgot to fill her water bowl, which I didn't realise until I saw paw prints all over the toilet seat. Her last hydration source. If I treated a human the way I treat my cat, I would be in prison for years." The anonymous author then goes on to state that she began to leave windows open, hoping that Lucky would leap out to her death, and that
I'm guessing they were talking about like the second, third floor, however high this is.
She would be freed of the inconvenience forever.
Did you have like a husband? I feel like he's gonna be taking care of it too, right? It doesn't have to be that big of a deal.
The article is a hard read, especially as an animal lover. I'm of the full belief that pets are one of the most valuable blessings in this life, and to be able to experience the unconditional love from your pet is a gift.
I mean, you got a cat on the screen right now, and I feel like they don't love you. Just being honest.
But it's quite clear the poster doesn't share the same sentiment. There are numerous...
I know we are talking about a cat though, but she shouldn't be doing that stuff to the cat. But the cats here are here to control you. If you haven't heard about the, like, I don't know how true this is, but we're gonna act like it is true. The parasite that's inside of cats that the cat specifically wants to pass on to you, and the parasite specifically makes you think the cat is more cute or makes you more obsessed with the cat. So the cats literally are brainwashing you into being more obsessed with them. Like, so if you have a cat and you are just crazy about it, it might be the parasites in your brain making you obsessed with it, and you've been brainwashed. Which it's kind of like, who cares? It's taking care of an animal. It's not that big of a deal if you get brainwashed, but I'm just saying, cats are here to rule over you, not the other way around. Like, the cat isn't the pet here, you are the pet. They've literally inserted, I'm being serious, like literally inserted parasites into you to brainwash you into taking care of them forever. I know that sounds crazy, and it is crazy, but you can take that with a grain of salt, because I'm kind of just goofing a bit, but hold on. Yeah, I was just looking up the parasite, like, I don't know the exact name, toxin, let me actually look it up again. Toxoplasma gondii, I believe, something like that. That's the parasite I'm thinking of. And it doesn't necessarily make you go crazy for cats, but it could. Like, they don't really know. Apparently it makes you be more okay with like cat urine, stuff like that. Oops. Brought up that. Didn't mean to do that. You just got to see the thumbnail there for one of the Dark Asia videos, right? But yeah, it kind of makes you become obsessed with them. It has the potential to do that. We don't really know. I just am going all in on it, all in on the tinfoil hat, right? And saying the parasite that can only grow within the intestines of cats that can be spread to you and mice, apparently. That kind of makes you find them more cute, or makes you more obsessed, make you want to take care of them more. I'm saying it does that. I'm saying it's the whole 9 yards. It brainwashes you into being obsessed with them. So again, they're the ones in control, not you. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying maybe think about that.
Just red flags in this article, mainly that the anonymous confessor seems to be bragging about the way she feels towards the cat rather than feeling bad about them. Now, of course, postpartum depression alters brain chemistry.
She definitely does not have the cat parasite in her with how she's treating these cats.
But it is in no way an excuse for the mistreatment and abuse of an animal. What's worse is that her husband, who we know lives in the house, doesn't even show a smidge of sympathy nor care towards this poor cat.
Okay, so they're both just like don't care. At this point, why even still have the cat if he doesn't care about the cat and she hates the cat? Why do you even still keep it around?
And by the sounds of it,
and not like give it to someone who actually does care.
He doesn't step in to do something as simple as clean its litter box or fill up the water bowl either. There is absolutely no way that he is oblivious to this animal abuse that the writer so blatantly jokes about and flaunts, ending the article with a pun and joking about the treatment being involuntary cat slaughter. The Cut magazine have come under fire for this article, understandably, and for a very good reason. Why in the world would they post this article? Why would they condone this submission by even allowing it as part of their segment, originally meant to explore the subject on the ethics of owning household pets? Eventually, after a hashtag Save Lucky was started, Cut made this half-arsed statement. Lucky's owner/author took Lucky to the vet, who gave her a clean bill of health, describing her as happy and healthy. Now, this simply doesn't...
Okay, that's like nothing. You take your word for it.
Doesn't add up. How could this cat, who the owner just admitted to severely abusing to the point Lucky's whole demeanour changed, suddenly be the picture of health? I'm not the only person who thinks this. Many have taken to Twitter and various other social medias with the hashtag Save Lucky, calling for Lucky to be removed from the household for her own sake. I'll have the petition linked in the bio, and I urge any pet lovers to give it a look. It is severely disturbing to me that behaviour like this goes unchecked, and that a magazine with such a reputation would borderline defend the original author's actions. They are not denouncing the behaviour, simply brushing it under the rug and hoping that readers will take their flippant word on the sudden miraculous mental and physical recovery of this neglected cat. I have zero idea on how anyone can so unashamedly admit to the world that they abuse animals, and at the same time could look after their newborn baby. Please take a look at the petition mentioned below.
Assuming it's in this video, because I'm assuming that petition was for the video this had to do with, and not necessarily this amalgamation of her older videos.
Thank you.
Any last words? No, we are just ending with that. Of course, you have the eyeball here for her new thing. This was the previous video, and here's the... Oh no, is this the Appalachia? I could have sworn the Appalachia video had, not the Jersey Devil thing here. Jersey Devil looking thing. So maybe I was wrong earlier. What was the video? What was the thumbnail for this video? I just like goofed up. Maybe I was talking about this. It's not the Goat Man thing here. I guess don't pay attention to whatever the heck I said at the beginning. Or not at the beginning, somewhere in the middle about the thumbnail. So oof on that. But yeah, that is Opium's second video. Again, I guess it's not her second video ever. I think she just got rid of everything. I don't know why she did that. And just compiled a handful of videos into this video and the previous one. This video, though, her third one, I'm assuming is new, like brand new, not just a compilation. Maybe it is, I don't know. But yep, that was that. We are obviously going to be doing Rotten Mango tomorrow, as usual, because we keep doing every other day now rather than every day. Maybe I'll have it in me to do the Burning Sun Part 3, that 2-hour long video. I mean, this video was an hour and a half, but I kind of was up for it since I didn't stream very long today. So I had time. So maybe same thing will happen tomorrow. I'll have time and I'll just finally do the Burning Sun Part 3 after all this time. And then we'll see what it will do the next day after that. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Remember to buy my sticker to think about becoming a member. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because we're going to watch time and subscribe. Person over Game of Thrones as well. And shout out to the members, EmmyStarr and RaleyDrew. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Tune into the next episode. Oh, also, a member also is Alex G Killer 880. I can't forget to say that as well. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Tune into the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. You know what to do. See ya.